everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, that means you're here for one reason. That could be a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you by ComicBook Clique. And as always, I am never alone. Sir, please introduce yourself.
I am your Cloudus Maximus.
And he's not alone. Sir, introduce yourself.
I am the last Asgardian Negro, Gregory Thomas, aka GT Rebirth.
those intros get uniquer and uniquer, GT.
I try my best.
We've been here. It's been a year. It's been a year since the events of Avengers Infinity War. We hosted a therapy session for that film because of how distraught the fan base was. Do you remember how things felt at the end of that film? Watching all our characters get dusted, not knowing what the next thing was going to be.
I remember laying in bed just hearing that last sad piano note of the Avengers theme at the end of the credits. Just like, everything is so depressing.
You know, and this was a movie that broke records, broke the internet in many ways.
It broke James Cameron.
Yeah, it broke James Cameron. We're gonna get a little bit more from him in a second. But yeah, this was the movie phenomenon of the century, or so we thought, until we got the second part of this two-part story, Avengers Endgame, which was released last Thursday, and with less than a week to react to it. Here we are, as part of the Major Issues Podcast, gonna give you guys a in-depth recap and review of this film. But first and foremost, what we like to do here is give a little bit of a spoiler-free review. So I'm gonna go ahead and start by giving my opinions on this film, pass it over to Cloudus Maximus, who will pass it over to GT. So, as far as I go, this film exceeded most of my expectations, and Marvel seems to do that, and maybe it's because my expectations aren't high. I've gotten this weird relationship with Marvel where I don't really care what story they tell me because they always tell me a good story.
They love you, you know they love you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like when you get a real good relationship with your girlfriend, and she's like, "I'm out. Do you want something to eat?" And you trust her enough to be like, "Whatever you go get, just get me something from there."
As long as it's chicken, we'll be fine.
Right, exactly. But sometimes when you do that with DC, with some movies, you're like, just do it. And when it comes out,
then
what's the worst that can happen?
Chicken and you're just kind of like,
it gets out of control. I really dug this film. My biggest thing is I almost don't feel like it's a movie. I feel like I feel like this and Infinity War break the normal movie making and movie narrative structures in a way that they feel almost like, and the only thing I can equate it to, because being a professional wrestling fan, is like a pay-per-view. Like we were watching Raws and SmackDowns to lead up to this WrestleMania, and we finally got it in a two-part kind of deal, where if you put these two movies together, I think you do get something that transcends what we normally think of as a regular open and shut movie. Yes. But they
kept it under 3 hours, and it was still good.
Yes, and I wasn't tired through any of it. I wasn't tapping my foot or looking at my watch, which that those are all good signs. And I have definitely more to say, but that's all you spoiler-free people get, because you guys should have seen the movie already. Now I'm joking. Hopefully you guys go and see it, because it's definitely worth it. But yeah, I was blown away. Maximus?
I've been sobbing since Thursday, bro. I've been shook since Thursday, man. You know,
it's an emotional roller coaster.
It's been something to get used to after what I've just seen on the big screen. I've never felt the wave I've ever felt before watching a movie like this. You know what I mean? Because you've grown up with these dudes on film and stuff like that for like the 10 plus years.
Yeah, and
some change, and it's like the complete eye candy was so rewarding, man. Oh my god, dude. Yeah. Dude, I've been shook. It's like I'm trying to get all the thoughts in my head, and it's a party, and at the same time, it's also depressing.
Yeah, no, definitely. It also is a situation where you know these characters so well, and the writers and Marvel themselves know these characters so well that they do exactly at every point almost they do exactly what they would do.
Time, feelings
given
invested,
the experiences.
The characterization is on point for pretty much almost everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The payoff is I want to say great, but also, like I said, it's kind of heartbreaking.
Yes, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that point.
I felt like I've been punched in the gut and I've been trying to breathe since Thursday. So.
Right.
Yeah, but only Marvel knows where your gut's at to punch it.
Oh,
so
right in the jujunum.
That's it, right in the jujunum.
So it's, oh man,
GT, how'd you feel about this film?
I'll say this from the very beginning. Number one, this was a very unique experience in a way that I'd almost never like to experience again. And I say that because I never want to have to go through as much as I did just to get tickets to this freaking thing.
Yeah, you're not lying, man. I was online for 3 hours trying to get tickets to this. And I ended up, the tickets I got were not for a movie theater near me, nor for a showing that I wanted.
I got lucky that day. I told my wife to like get on, and she was at work, dude.
Yeah.
So she got hit with the whole Avengers Endgame waiting estimate. That was like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
But for other people, I saw like 3 hours, 2 hours.
I got 3 hours.
Goodness,
I got 2
dude.
hours. I got
easily.
I got that the time has been frozen and you're just stuck here.
Oh my god.
Then my girlfriend got on it and she had to go through 5 different browsers before she could get through the whole thing.
Yeah, it was incredibly frustrating. And
freaking Internet Explorer is like low key at the dark road. Like, oh, you must be so desperate to have come to me for help.
and it also it creates anxiety because you do not want to be the one to not see this movie.
And you want to be part of the first ones to see it. You know
because
I mean?
you don't with spoilers.
It's bad enough that you're worried about spoilers because of the European releases that are early and the Japanese releases, and now like you're a day late to the US release. It's like, oh god, I can't even go on the internet.
Yes, exactly.
But other than that, yeah, this is so much more than a movie. It is a cinematic like world event.
Yes.
You know, China and the US alone is just a massive market that's buzzing all over for it, and even the media behind it is over the top in the sense that like I've seen a lot of movie posters on things, but I have never been able to look outside my job window every day and see the same poster on every taxi.
Right.
Yeah.
And every time I look out, Avengers Endgame.
And every time you get closer, you get in a whole little poster.
I got one right on the corner at the bus stop. Yeah. There's a McDonald's, Avengers and McDonald's.
Like 2 weeks away, that's a Geico commercial, and the Gecko has the Infinity
Gauntlet. That was cool too. But also another thing is word of mouth. You got to know word of mouth is crazy too.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So granted, they're gonna do their little promotions and things like that, but they're also gonna rely on their fans.
Yeah.
You know, rely on us to get
tell
it
other people that it's good and go see it.
So the hype was real.
I think it was cool and poetic that we got the same kind of treatment from last year. Don't spoil the film. Like they went out on a
I really like that.
Yes.
I really like that.
Of saying not to spoil
Thanos
it.
demands silence.
But what other spoiler free thoughts you have on this, GT?
It was everything I expected it to be. It was a lot of what I thought the last movie would be, and the last movie went a few different directions.
Yeah.
It reminded me, even though it took 22 movies and not 3, it reminded me of the same hype that I never understood for people who were so hyped to go see Return of the King when it came out, and the massive like field battle that they were expecting to see from that, and from what I remember, it was just about that. I didn't really watch Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But it even gave me things I never expected in small little kernels. There were these,
definitely.
Like if you went in there not just a movie fan, but with even a passing knowledge of some of the comic books, there's a lot of little things they sprinkle in that just are very much intended to invoke like these little like
definitely. I did feel like this was a complete bag of Scooby snacks.
Yes.
You know, and we were getting rewarded for being such diligent fans and looking at every corner of every film. I guess I would then ask, what preparation did you guys do for this? I did not do the normal, watch every film before.
Right.
Did any of you?
I thought about it, but like my life did not have the room for it.
I wanted to.
Okay.
I wanted to, but I honestly didn't because I was just so like it's coming. I don't want to do.
Right.
I want to do a recap, but then I don't want to do a recap.
Yeah.
Because everything is such embedded into my mind.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna go in knowing where we left off, knowing where I've been, what it took to get here.
Yeah.
And it's like, here we go, bro. It's the end game.
Right. Actually, you know what though? I tell a lie because I didn't do it for me, but my girlfriend who had bought me the tickets had only seen maybe 7 of these films.
Right.
So 4 days before the movie, we knocked out a whole lot of them.
So
awesome.
I know how you feel there. I was sending like little links in a family chat that I had. I was sending like little recap videos that you see on YouTube and
Yes.
things like that. I was sending that into the chat. So I was, instead of getting myself ready, I was getting everybody else
Right.
ready.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, yeah, me and her watched maybe like 6 movies before it, and that became like kind of my rehashing of the MCU up until that point, or I guess at this we can just call it of the Infinity Saga.
Pre-game to the end game.
Yes, yes. And that day I watched Infinity War, and then we left to go.
Okay, I think those are the last the ones I saw. I saw Avengers for the cast, which I wanted to do for the cast because I
Yes.
hadn't seen it in a while, and then I also saw Infinity War as well. So but I do think that if you did do the big binge, you probably loved it even more because it very much so.
It made
had
everything a lot
bit
fresher in your mind when it all called back to it, and this movie is so callbacky.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Let's get into a little bit of what things people probably didn't like about this film. Some of the dark clouds that some people are putting over this film. How do you feel about this whole like expectations versus reality situation where we were given a year to put our best minds and scour these 22 films or 21 films? I think this might be the 22nd films to find the clues and how is this going to all go about? And some people wrote 3-hour movies in their heads and went to go see this and did not like what they saw. How do you guys feel about that?
My answer is the same as I said off cast. If your movie was that good, you should go out there and you should sell it.
Yeah.
You should go, by all means, brother, make that money. There's animated films all over the place.
My thing about that is, why? Just don't.
Yeah.
I get it. You want to speculate and things like that, but if you want to go be that serious, I just feel like it's just taken away from things that you're probably thinking, and then you're gonna end up wanting to happen so bad. And then when it doesn't happen, it just takes away from your experience from the film and things like
and you
that.
know what's the ironic part about that kind of fandom? So let's use an example. So people had saw the toy where the Hulk busts out of the Hulkbuster. It was like a pop or something.
Right.
Okay.
And so they assumed that this was going to happen it didn't happen at all. But they assumed it was going to happen in Infinity War because they saw the Hulkbuster armor.
Okay.
Had that happened, they would have been happy for a moment, and the next thing they would have said was, "Look at how predictable this is."
Right.
So, do you want to be right and predictable? Or
I don't think
and
get on the
so
ride.
When it does what you want it to do, it's predictable.
Right.
When it does what you don't want it to do, then it's whack. So you sit in this weird middle ground of like, what are you expecting these films to do? I had expectations. There was several times where I thought something was going to happen that didn't. But I never felt disappointment. I just felt like, oh, this is a different direction. Like, let's go. Let's see where this goes.
Yes.
Like, and
It's
you just
more
follow.
like
Exactly. Follow it through. Do you guys remember any theories that seemed kind of solid that didn't come true in this? I guess to keep it kind of spoiler free. Because I remember a big one being that Tony would use the barf technology. The technology from Civil War. Remember he put on that thing and so his mother.
Guy who could just create things.
Yeah. And so there was a lot of like, we see screenshots and it looks like he's using and it's like, nah, that's not.
Right.
That's not what happened. Did you guys catch any ridiculous theories?
most theories that I ran into is like,
besides Ant-Man going in Thanos'
yeah, a lot of it was that, but a whole bunch of stuff is like a lot of the time travel stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So going back, and I saw a lot of people just going back, taking off the gauntlet from him, or just stopping it in general.
Right.
But I'm just like,
some people were like, Thanos would be done in the first 10 minutes, and we won't see the rest of him. It would just be a whole movie.
It'd just be a whole movie
dealing
them
with
trying to
something
get
else.
everything. Yeah.
I had certainly heard a theory that there would be a completely new villain by the end of the film, and I was just like, that would be weird.
Yeah. I did like how they handled that issue there. Let's talk about the landmine that was the internet the week of Endgame. Spoilers abound.
So yeah.
Oh boy.
I didn't see not a single spoiler. Granted, I saw the movie Thursday.
Yes.
You know.
As
so
did I.
overseas, I guess it came out and whatnot. But I didn't see not one single spoiler, dude.
I saw one spoiler, exactly one. I saw the toy of Iron Man's Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah. But what's ironic to that for me is that it literally could have just been a toy. Like, I don't care. Like, you see how sometimes they just give Batman weird gadgets he's never had before because it's a toy? Same thing. So that, and then in no way did that inform me anything that happened with that item in the film.
I think I'm more curious as to what spoilers everybody saw.
Well,
I had something similar to what you had, which was I had seen what is now like the proven fake Infinity Saga box set.
Okay.
That has the silver Infinity Gauntlet on it, and I was just like, "Oh, is that what the new one looks like?" Well,
okay.
That doesn't really spoil anything for me, but now I know there's a new one.
There's a new gauntlet,
right?
But like I just kind of whatevered it because like, okay, there's a new gauntlet, whatever.
So
then it turned out to not be real.
Because I don't want to give this person any credit, I unfriended somebody today because they had a GIF up,
right?
And it was of a female, and when you press the button of the GIF to play, the next thing that it plays is Tony Stark snapping.
Oh my god!
And the effects of it, and it also says spoiled.
Wow!
And that just seems so malicious.
That is,
and so douchey.
That's
I don't use the word
terrible.
douchey. But so douchey that I was like, I don't really need this person around in my life. The kind of person that plays with this kind of mischief.
One person for simply saying what happens at the end.
That just gave me an attitude.
I don't even seen it, but you're a douchebag.
Yeah. So
it's funny. So I also saw, before I even saw spoilers to that, I saw spoilers to the latest episode of Game of Thrones.
right.
And then I saw a spoiler.
Yeah.
And it was just something minute.
Oh. And I hope my coworker Robert's listening to this, because he said that he was on a train station and he got on the train and just on the wall was a poster that says the Hulk goes back in time. So people were just renegade spoilers.
Right.
Literally just posting spoilers ever. There's a video of a child being spoiled in high school, and he knocks out the guy who spoils the movie for him. There's a lot going on with these spoilers, so I wanted to know. So you guys, for the most part, were able to navigate past these things.
I don't condone such violence. I'm just gonna say, I understand.
That's all it is.
That's all it is.
My meter for justified violence is teetering.
Yes.
On the answers.
There's a small circle of hell for betrayers, mutineers, and those who spoil Avengers Endgame.
Oh man. I was mostly lucky. Like, there'd be the occasional moment where I saw something and it said Endgame, and my brain immediately registered it, and I was just like, super scroll.
Yeah. I don't know what I would have
to get off Twitter.
That's the thing. The reason why I got angry and I unfriended that person is I don't know what I would have done if for whatever reason I just couldn't see it.
Right.
And come Monday, the weekend, I can't have the weekend without this thing being spoiled for me. That really frustrated me in a way that, because I do feel that, in a weird way, especially with this being the culmination of 22 films, there's been this weird communal energy of Marvel fans where we've agreed to not spoil it or whatever. We get each other. We know how this is going to affect us. We
all know how much time and money we've pulled into this moment.
Exactly. When I saw this film, I went on Facebook, and the only thing I said was, go see it.
Right.
Because that was the best gift I can give to you. I'm telling you to go see it. Go see it. Oh, how was it? Go see it. Go see it, and you'll let me know how it is. Yeah. I like what I saw, and I was trying to push people out there to see what you see. And when it comes to the communal thing, the last little bit I wanted to talk about was, how was your theater experience? Some people went at 1 o'clock in the morning, and so there was somebody snoring there, or some people you understand, some people went and there was a bunch of kids who laughed at every joke so they couldn't hear the audio. Okay. I wanted to know, did your experience make or break this film in your eyes in any way, and was it out of the ordinary in any way?
First of all, I just want to say I got the bucket.
Oh yes, you got the popcorn.
So as I was coming into the theater, it was already as the.
Was it like tin?
Yeah,
it was tin.
I have the Civil War one. I saw him get it, and I wanted to get it. I was like, you know what? I could take a knee on this. I saw it, and
I was just like, I'm not gonna.
I was like,
I was like, nah, I gotta get it, because I had the Civil War joint.
You still have the Civil War joint?
Yeah, I still have the Civil War joint. It's funny because I saw the bucket. I was like, why does Hulk look like this? And then I went into the movie, and then I saw, okay.
Oh, yeah. Things get answered for you really quickly.
Dude, the theater experience was great. So when it's a little spoilery. I don't want to.
They cheered when they were supposed to
cheer.
Yeah,
they cheered when they were supposed to cheer. There were times where I popped for a certain thing, and I had people behind me laughing, because I was just like, what?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Popping when they were supposed to. We went, my theater, we went through it. We laughed, we cried, we sighed together. It It was crazy, man.
What, did you get the
Awesome.
applause?
Yeah, hell yeah,
Okay.
hell yeah.
I
hell
started the applause
yeah.
sometimes.
Hell yeah, hell yeah, bro.
I started the
Yep.
applause sometimes, and I got no, I got no shame in it. I also completely understand that you pay your money, and sometimes you might want a more intimate experience where
Right.
people are a little bit quieter, and you experience the film.
Animal Draft House. They kick you out if you're loud.
Do they really?
Yes.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Good
Animal
to
Draft House
know.
is like this interesting theater. I think it's like
I've heard it was quite fancy.
yes, it is, and like they're real big about the noise thing.
Okay.
So like if you get noisy in there, you get taken out.
Yeah. Another thing is, I feel like the Thursday experience is going to be ravenous because we all
Yeah, we're all
spent
here.
3
It's
hours
it's the
Yeah.
first day
to watch
yeah.
the first showing of the first day.
We are
of
the
this
committed.
movie.
Yep, we are here. Yep.
So there's this definitely hunger for this film that I saw. I actually went to a theater I've never been to
Mhm.
that did not have a line outside. Had
Okay.
full lazy boy reclining
Which
seats.
one was the one you went to
Nice.
again?
I went to one in Forest Hills. I've never been there before, and it was watching Endgame. It was
it
day
like
one
on-
of it,
was it
but
like-
there was no. It wasn't packed. There wasn't a line outside. There was none of that
I
stuff.
think
I
I
was like,
went. I
oh,
think I went to
wow,
that one to go
wow.
see Into the Spider-Verse. So I
Okay.
like that one.
But even with it being small,
Right.
there was probably 50 people in my theater.
Hmm.
The same thing. Like people clapped when they were supposed to clap. They laughed when they were supposed to laugh. Sometimes I was the loudest person in the room. But
Right.
That's because at that point I just did not care.
Right.
I was in the movie at that point,
Uh-huh,
and so
uh-huh.
now we're gonna see this through
This
the end.
moment is mine.
Yes, we're gonna see this through to the end. But I'm glad that none of you guys had negative theater experiences.
I can tell you of an interesting theater experience that technically was not mine.
Okay.
I went there and we saw a friend that had tickets to the 8:30
Okay.
film,
Uh-huh.
Yes.
and they were all online getting moved to an 11:30 film.
Wow.
Because the 8:30 film probably got overbooked.
That's something else I had heard.
I
I
heard of something about that.
Yeah, I
too.
heard certain theaters
That happened
double
to a friend
dipped
of mine, yes.
with ticket. Listen,
So my boy.
So they
I
had
would have
choices
set
of either getting
that
a full-
theater on
So,
fire.
so check this out. My boy had
Fire.
He had an 8:30. He had an 8:30 show, right?
Yeah.
They started the show like at 9:00, 9:15,
Yeah.
because they had people trying to get into the theater that didn't buy tickets trying to see it.
Of course they did.
So and those people stayed.
Right.
So he went to go see the movie, and those people stayed in the aisle steps. Just sat there for 3 hours and saw the movie.
Oh my god.
I was just like, wow, you serious?
Scorched earth.
Wow.
Yes.
Scorched. I would have brought Mjolnir with me, and it would have been scorched earth.
Crazy.
I cannot believe, and it's so. That's what I'm saying. It's so weird. So many different factors. All of these factors, and if you fell victim to all of these things, if you crafted your theory and it didn't work while sitting next to a crying child, as you check your phone and get spoilers for the movie, like I can understand why you would then be like,
right.
this wasn't all that, you know.
Yeah.
But
my theater was pretty good too, in the sense that like everyone pretty much reacted at the good times. This is the second time I've seen a big applause moment in a theater.
yeah,
Mhm.
The other one was Spider-Man: Homecoming,
yes,
when he's lifting the giant
right.
Yeah,
thing
right,
off
right.
of him.
Come on, Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Remember
exactly.
who you are, Simba. When he's yes, I remember.
Yes.
That, yeah.
So, yeah, it was all a really good experience. We were all like really emotional to be there. I think we can all sort of. This isn't even a spoiler, but so I'll just mention. Like, I think we can all sort of agree that like it was a big emotional moment once those like special ending credits rolled.
Yeah, it was, man. I'm
all just like in big applause.
Yeah.
With that very unique like thing they rolled for them.
I'm actually never gonna forget the way those credits rolled. Like
Yeah.
it was such a like a bow. It to me, it very much felt like I
Yeah.
watched a play and they
And
all
they all
walked
came
out
out for the big
and they
bow.
bowed.
Right.
And the last song.
And yeah, and the song, and I'm just like, oh, this is everything I needed.
Mhm.
I try to say this often without trying to signal anybody out, push anybody out, but I do feel like this movie was made for the Marvel fans of the MCU.
Yeah.
I'm not saying if you haven't seen any of the other films that you wouldn't enjoy it, but I would question the heights in which you would enjoy it in comparison.
It is a
Right.
different experience.
Yes.
You know, it is the same way that like a lot of films are gonna just have a different experience for you if there is a deeper personal, connection to it.
Yes.
I came on here and personally said to you that like I am sure Black Panther is a much different experience for me than it is for any other like a white person or just a person who doesn't understand that inner city sort of like black kid experience.
Right.
It hits you differently.
Right.
So yeah, you're gonna enjoy it. It's an exciting film in its own right, in its own like slightly boxed in story, but at the same time, it's not as deep an experience because you won't understand all the little things that are happening.
Yeah, I did feel like it. You've heard reviewers say this before, but they've actually been able to serialize movies. They've actually been able to comic bookize movies, and this movie was very much a crossover, a massive crossover event where, like you said again, you can watch just that, or you could just read Civil War 1 through 6.
Yeah.
But if you don't read Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man Civil War, Black Panther Civil War, the Avengers Civil War, X-Men Civil War,
at least read the things that got you there.
It's gonna be different if you're just getting on this ride as opposed to everybody else that's already been on this ride.
Because as far as like, if you couldn't go into Civil War without any of that, because if you're that person who has that tangential understanding of what the Avengers are, you're just like, why are they fighting? They're all friends.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess my thing is I want to champion the idea that this thing is rewarding its fans, but I also don't want to discourage those who haven't seen it to think that then I might as well just not, because that's not the case.
It's tough if you came in late.
Yes.
It's still tough if you came in late.
But that's not to take away anything. I think it's still great if you still jump in cold turkey. You know what I mean?
Yes, and to tell you the truth, if you know somebody who's seen these movies and you haven't, they will sit down with you and rewatch all of these movies because I would. Hit me up. I will sit down and talk your ear off through Winter Soldier. We'll sit there and you see that? Oh my God, you won't even watch.
I'm pretty sure my girlfriend was quite annoyed with me after I was like, Winter Soldier came on. I was just like, no, pay attention. This is the fucking
look. No, look. You're not looking.
Where you going? Stop.
This is a big deal.
Awesome. That's a good helping of spoiler freeness, I think.
Yes, it is.
So let's go into the full plot recap and review. We'll be pausing in between to talk about certain scenes, certain moments, how we felt, how we remembered.
So if you're listening, go watch the movie now and then come back and listen to the rest of this.
If you hear the Avengers theme, you have officially been in spoiler territory. Thank you for listening up until this point if you have not seen this film, but this is the part in which you should depart this podcast. And now we continue the rest of the spoiler-filled Avengers Endgame recap and review. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So we start off a few moments before the end of Infinity War. We see Hawkeye chilling, having a picnic, pre-haircut.
Oh, my heart.
Already, right? I'm sitting in the chair. I saw this and
I was just like, no.
Yeah, dude.
Don't make me do it again.
I'm sitting in the chair like, this is just, I'm like, when is it going to happen? He's going to drop a penny and go get the penny and get up and they're going to be gone. I'm like, this is terrible. Oh my gosh. But I'm guessing you guys had the same thought in your heads. This is when it happens.
That hit me heavier than I expected it to. I actually thought they were going to show them turn to dust, but I was fine with them not showing it because I already knew once they didn't show them and they weren't anywhere near him.
If you look carefully enough, you can kind of see the darker dust pile.
Yeah, by the
but
tables
at the same
and stuff
time,
like that.
I was just like, I never thought they would. I thought they were just going to go with the implied, like, it happened to him, and this is why he went the way he did.
Right.
So when it just started with him and his family, I was just like, oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Everybody in my theater was like, oh, man.
Yeah, I was already, I was already getting a little bit emotional for that, especially watching him, hang out with his kids. Because even though we've seen his family before, we've never seen him be dad. We've never seen Hawk dad.
And for me personally, who was just like, I'm sort of waiting for his TV show to go the direction I'm waiting for it to go. Yeah. So once I heard him call his kid Hawkeye, I was just like,
yeah. That made it worse because it already started with the air being thick in the theater with us as soon as that started, man.
Yeah. And then seemingly the snap happens. Thanos eradicates half of the universe, and so his family, all of his family but him, go. That's
Survivor's Guild. You've ever heard of it?
Yeah. First thing that obviously came into my mind was one of my favorite shows, The Leftovers, in which that happens to the world and people don't know how to act. So that definitely came to my mind. But also, I loved the direction that they gave him. Where what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
You turn around and everybody's gone. What do you do? All you do is keep calling their names, right? Running in any direction
Nothing
for
makes
long
any
enough,
sense.
nothing makes any sense. What do you do? And
It's like you look under the pillow, it's not there. You come back a few minutes, you look under the pillow again, even though you know it's not there.
exactly,
Yep.
exactly, and that how maddening that could be. Like dealing with that and. The fact that he's alone. Everybody else at least kind of knew, or especially the Avengers, they knew why it happened, why these things were going on. But Hawkeye didn't, and I was like, "Oh, that's
a scary experience in comparison to being like, if you're in New York City, you can run out and you can find other people who are just as confused as you, and you can share that confusion.
Yeah,
like
but on your
he's
secret
on a
shield
farm,
by himself,
secluded from
when
most
nobody
of the world,
knows.
You're just like,
yeah.
Am I the only one?
Yeah, and like I said, you've seen a little bit in at the end of Infinity Wars, but planes got to be kinds
What's
of
that
stuff.
Will Smith movie?
Oh my gosh,
I Am Legend.
Oh,
yeah,
Jeremy Renner.
Oh, yeah.
I am Hawkeye.
We go from there to space. Stranded in space for 3 weeks since their battle on Titan. Tony Stark and Nebula are on the last of their resources, and with the little bit of strength that he has, Tony sends a final message to Pepper because he thinks they're gonna die. Did you think we'd get to Tony so fast? I was like, oh.
I did.
Yeah.
I thought that was gonna be something done in the beginning. I would have expected that scene before the Hawkeye one.
Okay.
Yeah, I expected them to start with Tony.
Me too. Me too. Because the directors had mentioned that everything that we've seen in the trailers was basically like the first 15-20 minutes of the movie.
That's true.
It didn't exist at all.
Oh yeah.
So I was expecting to see everything from the trailer that was pieced together. Well, that was pieced together for the trailer.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that.
Which also wasn't completely true because like the time travel gimmick is a while away.
Right.
and I'm not gonna lie, I legit found humor and entertainment watching Tony and Nebula play football.
Table football. He was teaching her. I mean, granted, I think he let her win.
Yeah.
So.
But it's like we played that in school. Like we were so bored, we played that in school. So I completely get it, and I completely get teaching somebody who basically doesn't even know what humanity is.
Right.
Oh, this is a paper football. You're the goal. Like all that. I found really funny, and they seem to have gotten along. Like she shares rations. She helped him get the ship moving at least a little bit more.
Right.
All right, so
but now
here's my thing
gone.
with that. I'm like, you can want to share all you want with her. She even if she doesn't eat, she's gonna live.
Oh yeah.
In a sense.
Well, I don't know how much robot she is, but what the funny thing is, somebody did this math. So he said like food and water have ran out, right?
4 days ago.
4 days ago. The last person I know that was checking out the food and water was Thor. When he opened up the fridge and was like, all of this is mine.
Right.
He was like, all of this is mine. I don't care. This is my ship. And then he walked away.
Thor killed Tony Stark.
Thor kind of, he kind of didn't
make it. Jack the food, man.
He kind of didn't make it so good for Rhodey.
I like seeing that moment, though, where, like, even if she didn't like him all that much, like, there is a sense of empathy from...
And respect. Like, a little bit of...
Like, just enough that she thought to, like, if I'm going to have this guy die on this ship, let me have him die in the chair over here comfortably.
Robert Downey Jr. plays near death very well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And he looks scary.
Very well. When he shows back up, and we'll get there in a second, but when he shows back up to the Avengers compound, like, that weight that they had him lose for that
was bananas,
was
bro.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking.
Guys, that's the only time we basically ever seen him like that in the Marvel series anyway.
Yeah.
Right before the life leaves Tony Stark's eyes, a million incels die on command as Carol Danvers rescues Nebula and Tony Stark from space. Now the glow happens. I knew who it was. Did you guys know?
I did, yeah.
I had a feeling.
That's slow glow.
Yeah.
If I could think from Tony's perspective, it was he probably thought he was seeing an angel.
Yeah.
Right. Like, this is how I'm going.
This is it.
Taking me off. I am accepting this.
And so she basically, puts the ship on her back and brings it to the Avengers compound. We see in the trailer that shot of them coming towards the ship that's coming down or whatever. But obviously we didn't see that Danvers was actually lowering it down. But they return to Earth and they join the remaining Avengers that are at the compound. Black Widow, the Hulk, Steve Rogers, Rocket, Thor, Pepper Potts, and Rhodey. The first thing that Stark says when he gets off the ship is, I couldn't stop him. And Steve says, neither could I. Stark says, I lost a kid. And Steve said, Tony, we just lost.
We lost it.
And that was just like, man. And so I'm sitting here, right? And I'm like, we've spoken about this. Maximus, because Maximus is a huge Iron Man fan, and I'm a huge Captain America fan, as are you, GT. And so we've spoken about all these guys need to do is get on the right page. As long as they're on the same page, they could defeat anybody. So at this point, I'm like, okay, homie's home. Let's get everybody up to speed. Let's cut all this ego bullshit out, and let's get this going. So Steve asks Tony, like, oh, so did you see where he went or whatever like that?
Like,
and Tony
he goes
off.
Yeah.
He goes off on him. And pulls out his arc reactor, calls him a liar, and basically falls down.
Here, you put it on. And the next time you see him.
Oh my god! Here I got it because I needed it. So Steve goes, we've been hunting Thanos for 3 weeks now through face scans and satellites. So far we got nothing. Tony, you fought him. Tony goes, what are you talking about? I didn't fight him. No, he wiped my face with a planet while the wizard gave away the store. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
There's no fight. Okay, did he give you any clues, any coordinates? I saw this coming a few years back. I had a vision, but I didn't want to believe it. Now it's true. Tony, I'm gonna need you to focus. I needed you, as in past tense. That's what that trumps what you need. It's too late, buddy. Sorry. You know what I need? I need a shave. I don't believe I ever remember telling you this. And I'm like, oh my god. He's getting up. He's weak. Yeah. He's like 90 pounds lighter. And I'm like,
pulling the IV out of his arm.
Out of his arm.
I literally said, you ripping an IV out of your arm. Oh my god. And he goes, what we needed was a suit of armor around the world. Remember that? Whether it impacted our precious freedoms or not, that's what we needed. And Steve's like, well, that didn't work out. Did it? And Tony goes, I said we'd lose. And you said we do that together. Guess what, Cap? We lost, and you weren't there. But that's what we do, right? We do our best work after the fact. We're the Avengers, not the pre-Vengers, right? And that put things in a perspective that I hadn't thought about before.
To all of you who thought Civil War didn't have any actual effect on the
right.
thing.
That's exactly what it is. Tony wants to prevent ever having to suit up by just locking the door.
Yeah.
Cap says, I should have the freedom to have my door unlocked, and whoever comes in here is going to get these hands. But if they get in, who knows how much damage they will do before they get these hands. Tony wants none of that damage.
Right. And
neither way is 100% right. But in this moment, it's these opinions written to the highest degree. Yeah. They're as furious about this. And he says something to Captain Marvel. He's like, oh, you're new, or something like that. He says, like, oh, you're new. And then he goes, a bunch of tired old wheels. I got nothing for you, Cap. I got no coordinates, no clues, no strategies, no options. Zip, zero, nada. No trust, liar.
Oh, my God.
And then he rips out his arc reactor and says, here, take this. You'll find them if you put that on. You hide. And then if you put that on, you hide. And then he basically just passes out. And that took a lot out of me. It's weird. It's like watching your parents fight in a way. It's like watching your family members fight in a way. To know he felt that strongly, to know that he had resigned himself to that much, like it's over. Yeah. But then again, I've never been in the vacuum of space for 2 years. You understand?
I mean,
thinking about everything
between the two, between Cap and Tony. Tony was the one that gave him the hands at least the most, or at least tried to. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So in a way, he was the biggest person against Tony in what he thought was right.
And until Thanos came to Earth and like for the Mind Stone, and took it. Well, not really took it to Cap, but took his hand to Cap. Yeah. So and Tony kind of scratched his face up.
Well, now that you say that, there could be an instance in which in Civil War, Tony's like, damn, maybe I ain't right about this. But come Infinity War, he's like, I've been, you see?
Right.
You see? And then he gets shipped into space. So he's like, if I ever get back, I'm going to die out here. But if I ever get back, I will not allow y'all to live without knowing that I told y'all about this. And y'all looked me in my face and y'all told me I was wrong.
I'm right on the walls.
Now, I don't think Tony was 100% justified in those statements.
And for me, actually, like I was upset with Tony in that moment.
Yes,
I was watching it, I was just going like him being upset about Cap not being there. I was just like, you were the one with the phone, you jerk.
Yeah, he kind of was.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that. they just like sedate him. They're like he's gonna be gone for the rest of the day
because he passed out.
Yeah, and but with no help from Tony, the rest of the Avengers are able to track down Thanos to our uninhabited planet because he had just used the stones before.
Mm-hmm.
Nebula talks about he would always talk if they did their victory lap, they would do it at this place called the Garden.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone kind of just goes to space. Captain Marvel realizes that there's no defenses. He's just kind of chilling. And,
right.
And they're like, fine, that doesn't matter to us. We'll, it's given what he deserves. He is like, I don't know, making a stew or something. He like picks fruit and like boils it or whatever. And they come in like a hurricane.
Yep.
They come in, they choke him. There was a moment where I started feeling a little bad until I remember why they did this.
Right.
But I'm like, Captain Marvel yokes him up from behind. Tony comes and starts pulling on the glove already. They cut off his hand before even anyone said anything. Hands cut off.
No words.
Yeah.
No words. And then they realize that
Like,
there's
what's
no
up?
stones in the gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
I guess their goal was that they were just gonna kill him
Yeah.
and then take the glove back. And
Do
I think
the thing.
initially they said they were gonna force him to do it, but I think it got as they were getting over there, their rage boner was like, nah, we don't need him to do it.
Right.
We just kill him, take the gauntlet, and all that. And so he's like, yeah, I used the stones to destroy the stones so that no one can reverse the effects of the culling of the universe.
But not even just that, but like he says like the stones represented nothing but temptation for me at that point.
Yes.
So like,
And also the fact that it damn near killed him. You know, he
Mhm.
had the arm and the scars and all that. And yeah, he's like, look what that energy did to me and stuff like that. And then they're like, you didn't destroy, you're a liar. And Nebula's like, if my father's all a bunch of things, but he's not a liar.
Not a liar.
And then he goes, oh, my daughter, maybe I should have treated you. And his head gets cut off.
Oh man, yo, everybody in my theater's like, oh,
I started
in
clapping because
unison.
I was like, I knew it. I know who that is.
Yep,
It's
yep,
the one man
yep.
that's been thinking about that.
that line's been playing in his head.
Oh my
for
God, he's
weeks.
thinking about that. And on cue, they look at Thor and they go, "What did you do that
Yeah,
for?"
Rocky
And he
goes,
goes,
"What did you do?"
and he goes, "I went for the head." And he walks away. And the Avengers are defeated. Literally, the air is out of their sails. There's nothing to do. Thanos is dead. There's no stones to get the gauntlet.
It is like
It's like, what now?
Yes.
What now?
it's the emptiest victory ever for Thor because like I did it. I
Yeah.
cut his head off.
Yeah. And
This
nothing's
voice
changed.
that's been in
Yeah,
my head for
nothing's
2 weeks. I
changed.
cut it off and nothing changed.
So I decided then that this movie might be doing something kind of special. So I decided to do some side research. And I was looking up the emotional reactions to trauma. And I feel like, in a way, majority of our OG6 exemplify different ways, different ways in general. Like, I see here, guilt is definitely one of them. And when I think of guilt, it's Thor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thor is guilty because he did not do. If I would have blanked,
He was there. He was right there.
right? If I would have blanked, if I could have blanked, had I been this quicker, had I been this closer, and that the fact that he did not somehow prevent it, definitely rests on his shoulders.
With a weapon that was stronger than all 6 stones.
I feel like Widow was numb. She was trying to workaholic her way through everything. As long
Right.
as she was working, as long as she had a position,
Yeah.
as long as she could direct people
She
to
just
do the
threw
right
herself
things.
into anything to keep her busy.
Yeah.
And you can tell that because in the scene that you see her in later on, she's literally eating at the desk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And eating like a bare meal, like a piece of bread, and she puts some peanut butter and jelly on, and that's it. Like, I don't think that directors of places that's what they take in for substance.
Right.
You have anger, where irritable and just angry at the whole situation. When I think of anger, I think of Clint.
Mm-hmm.
The way Hawkeye takes all this, he just uses that rage to live every day. That's what drives him every day. I feel like also Hulk is kind of numb. He kind of just lives, right?
I don't think
Like,
he, I don't think he knows what to feel because he's
Professor Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just stuck in that vacuum of like the thing that he usually runs away from when he wanted it wouldn't come out.
Yeah. And then obviously Tony has fear and anxiety. He's had that from Avengers 1.
Yes.
Where he would think that everything's going all right, and all he needs is a slight trigger to remind him of the big, horrible either consequences or threats that are out there, and he goes right back to that fear and anxiety. And yeah, it's heartbreaking because none of these ways are in particularly right, but these are all ways that we all choose to hide in the trauma that we face, and without knowing how to prevent it from ever happening again. And I guess they kind of maybe felt that they were at peace, that it would never happen again because they killed Thanos. But what do you do? Like, I can't really envision what my reaction would be, nor what the right reaction would be to all that going on.
Especially when you probably have a planet that has no idea what happened.
Yeah.
So for the heroes, it's we know what happened and we're still trying to figure out what to do with it. For like the world, for your regular everyday citizen, it's that show you mentioned.
Yeah, the leftovers
just disappeared, and you're like.
And if it can happen, then it can definitely happen again. Why not?
Right.
It just happened once. Who knows why that happened? Why it could happen again? How did you guys feel about the screen fading to black and something I never thought was going to show on the screen 5 years later? Time jump.
So when that happened, right?
I literally said, whoa,
yeah,
out loud.
Me
whoa.
too. I said,
like,
what?
We're just gonna.
My wife next to me was like, shh, and everybody behind me started laughing because they were in disbelief.
Yeah.
And that was just it. I didn't expect. I thought it was gonna be 5 days or 5 weeks, 5 months.
Yeah.
5
they
years.
did it in slow motion. They're like 5
years. Yeah.
Right. How'd you feel, GT? Time jump.
I had heard rumors about a time jump, but I guess I didn't think it would be that long.
I guess I thought that it would have came after, like, it would have started with the time jump.
Right.
Okay.
And so when that didn't happen and we sat in the immediate time right after.
5 years after Barton.
Right. I was like, oh, okay, this is but I definitely didn't see that coming. When it came up on the screen, I was like, oh, this is quite a lot. And we see the rest of the world is trying to move on, which includes Black Widow, who is leading a quasi worldwide Avengers team. Would you say?
Almost intergalactic at that point, because you got Carol over there dealing with the other planets.
And Rocket's doing something.
Everyone's giving Carol crap, and she's just like, y'all know there's a whole galaxy out here, right?
They're talking about underwater explosions or earthquakes. Is that something? Should we talk about that? Is that a thing, or is that literally just?
I think people are making it a thing.
People say it might be Namor.
Right.
You know,
I've heard about that too.
Yeah, we want it to be a thing. We see her talking to Rhodey, Okoye, Rocket, and Captain Marvel, who has a new hairdo. And she explains that she has cosmic stuff to deal with and probably won't be around for a while. And she definitely wasn't. Captain America hosts group therapy sessions for survivors of the snap. And one of those is one of the directors.
Yeah.
One of the directors, and also Thanos creator Jim Starlin.
Yes. And that director, that Russo brother in particular, is playing the first openly gay MCU character.
Oh, is he?
In the MCU. There's nobody. He was talking about his husband being gone from the snap and going on a new date and trying to get used to him. And I thought that was kind of big. At least they got it in before the saga ended.
I guess so.
Right.
I thought we were gonna wait to get what's his name?
Eternals, right?
Kid. No, well, I don't know anything about the Eternals.
Right. Whose kid is supposed to be?
Scarlet. I think Scarlet Witch's kid or whatever. The one that's with
Wiccan.
Hulkling?
Wiccan?
Yes, Wiccan and Hulkling.
Yeah.
Either that or Iceman.
Yeah. Oh, Iceman. Yeah, Cap is just trying to get people to push through, and just when it seems like all the hope is gone for everybody, a rat hits a button on the old van in storage in San Francisco, the old Scott Lang Ant-Man quantum tunnel van, and Scott Lang is able to escape out of the quantum tunnel and finds Romanoff and Rogers at the Avengers compound.
I have taken it on my authority that was Master Splitter.
Yes, merging the worlds once and for all, because that was supposed to be like a parody of Daredevil. So he's just trying to close that loop. Are we willing to hand wave away the convenience of the rat? I am.
It's been 5 years. Somebody's gonna crawl across that thing eventually.
I think, yeah.
If it was like 5 days later and it just so happened.
Right. I really don't care. But yeah, so Scott Lang suggests traveling back in time via the quantum realm, grabbing the Infinity Stones before Thanos can grab him, and use that power to undo the snap. I love Ant-Man's delivery in all this because he's very confused. He went back and saw his daughter, who's 5 years older. He has not aged a day. To him, it was 5. What did he say? Hours. He was in the quantum realm for 5 years, our time, 5 hours, his
And he's
time.
just running through like what's basically a wasteland to him.
Yep, and not only a wasteland, but a wasteland where everyone's reserved to that wasteland.
Yes.
Everyone's like, "Oh, this is just what it
This
is."
is life now.
And he's like, "It doesn't have to be." And I like that he eats Romanoff sandwich. He's like, "Is that anyone's sandwich? Is that anyone's sandwich?" He eats it. He's like time crazy or whatever.
Yeah.
So I honestly I dig that. And even though the idea sounds ridiculous on the face of it, Lang is there. So he's living proof that you can go into the quantum realm for an undetermined amount of time and come out, and those times are different.
Yes.
So they're like, screw it. We'll go find someone to make that happen.
I love watching Lang attempt to expound science that even he doesn't truly understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And he also, as you've seen in these movies, has tremendous respect for Captain America.
Yes.
So he is not like none of this. Like, are you stupid? It's none of that stuff. It's all like, no, you don't get it. Like, let me try to explain it in a different way. You know what I'm saying? Which I think is kind of cute. But we see Tony, man. Tony, living the life by the river.
Yep.
Log cabin. We see Morgan Stark, the child that was predicted in Infinity War, where he had dreams that he would have a child, and they should probably name him Morgan after his crazy family member or whatever. And so they go to Tony and ask him, "Hey, do you mind making us a time machine?" And he's like, "Nah," because he has his daughter and he doesn't want to mess up the timeline.
You see what I got going on over here, Cass?
How do you feel about that? Because at the moment, I definitely got him. I
feel like it was completely justified. I mean, it made a lot of sense. Plus, if he didn't want to, or if he didn't, I completely understand.
Yes.
It was interesting to me in the sense that I understand where you're coming from. Where it's like you got you have your daughter, you have your wife, you've got this family life that you're happy with that. But at the same time, it's just like, is that the world you want to go bring her up in?
Yeah.
This weird, quasi, quasi society where we're all just living in this confusion.
But that's the thing, though. I feel like if you have a child, when you move to that house, when you do those things, you have agreed to just go along with the world as it is, and just cut your part of the world out. You know, like this will be my little corner, and my little corner will be perfect. And if the rest of the world is what it is, and I don't think that that's selfish. I think that that's also a way you cope with trauma. I think that things go on in politics all the time, and things go on, with mass shootings all the time, and we don't just go, what do? We go, well, the world's kind of sucky, so I'm just gonna make my little part of the world not sucky and live in that. And so I completely get that.
But I kind of feel like he was expecting at least a little something. Because when you what made me feel that way is when
like an apology?
Like a job or the job to go back in time or whatever the case was. Because when they first come into that little scene, she's playing with Pepper's helmet.
Yes.
So Tony's been busy.
Yeah, he did build it for her. He said he was gonna give her her birthday or something like that. I don't know why he would have given her for her birthday, but and the thing is when we see the suit in use later, she seems pretty inept at it. So
like she's been practicing.
Yeah, I wonder what kind of shooting ranges they've been at.
What's interesting about the suit is, at least for those in the know, is that it's not meant to be offensive.
Yes, it's a rescue. Rescue.
Yeah, right. It's pretty much just like a defensive,
like an evacuation kind of. Yeah.
It's meant to just handle things along in a way that a regular person can't do, or a plane might be able to get to.
Yeah, aid, just natural aid, no kind of offense. That I loved the child actor that played Morgan Stark. I thought she was absolutely adorable.
Yeah.
I thought that child was really, really good. And was a treat. And so the thought that when Tony's talking about it and he's holding her, I'm like, I kind of get that. Like, that's your world. That is your world. The people are talking about going back on your world to get theirs, and I don't really know how you slice it at that point. But the Avengers instead turned to Bruce Banner, who in the last 5 years found a way to bond with the Hulk because he used to kind of reject it, and now he's full Professor Hulk. An amalgamation of the two. And so Bruce agrees to help them, even though it's not his area of expertise, and Banner reminds them that they can't alter history, but they can instead retrieve the Infinity Stones from the past and reverse the disintegration in the present. How do you guys feel about that plan? I know it gets kind of wonky as it goes on, but at that point, were you guys Were you guys on the boat?
I mean, I was on the boat. It seemed like a solid, good plan on paper. On paper, it seemed like a good plan.
Now I bring it to what I would consider the most heartbreaking scene in retrospect.
Okay.
So I think that this movie's gonna warrant multiple rewatches, and I think when you watch it several times, scenes are gonna mean more the second time, and I think this scene is definitely going to mean more. This is the Iron Man checks on the time machine simulator thing.
Right.
So Tony plays with the time machine simulator, the idea that Scott Lang's been throwing around, and is able to kind of simulate what would happen if it would work, just to see.
Right, just to see.
And it works.
Like, nonchalantly just starts clicking in commands. It's like, it's not going to work. But whatever.
Yeah, and it works. And then he says shit.
Right.
And then the kid's like, shit.
Yeah.
He's like, that's mommy's word. She coined it. It belongs to her. Which I thought was very funny. But ultimately, after putting Morgan to bed and getting the "I love you" 3000 quote, which is a very beautiful quote, he goes back to Pepper and he's like, she's talking about something like, oh, what do you want to do tomorrow? And he's like, oh, I figured it out, by the way. He's like, she's like, what? And he's like, time travel. And she's like, are you kidding me? And they have a little discussion, but I pulled this part out of it. Pepper goes, we got really lucky. And Tony goes, yeah, I know. She goes, a lot of people didn't. And he goes, no, I can't help everybody. And then she says, it sort of seems like you can. Mm-hmm. And he goes, not if I stop. Not if I pin in it right here and I stop. And rewatching it, he literally could have. Right there in that moment. Yeah. And worse, she could have.
Yeah.
She could have in that moment been like, you know what? Screw these guys, man. Since this whole S.H.I.E.L.D. Avengers stuff been happening, I've had to worry about you not coming home for at least a decade at this point.
Right.
Screw this. We have this bit of life. We don't know what life is short. We don't know what can happen with this time travel thing. But instead, she admits that Tony, trying to get you to stop has been one of the few failures of my entire life. And all of their arguments have been her trying to get him to stop. Mm-hmm. Their little scuffle in Civil War.
You are not doing this again.
Yes, in Infinity War. And he had to apologize and be like, I'm sorry. I know I told you, no surprises, but I already thought I could pull this off. Tony Stark says, something tells me I should put it in a lockbox and drop it at the bottom of the lake and go to bed. And as a boyfriend, that scene and the way he portrayed it very much felt like he was asking for permission.
Yeah. Right. Hell yeah.
And so...
Tell me I should do this.
Yes, and she does. And when you watch that scene, after knowing what happens in this film, we'll get there, it's like, oh, what could have been? And yeah, so I definitely wanted to get on that. But
I appreciated almost the way she, like, it's not even her saying that you should. It's her saying that, like, if you did put it away, would you be able to stop thinking about it?
Right.
It's like,
right. You'll say you'll be able to live life as is, but will you? Knowing that you have this in the back of your head, you can change it, and basically you can't save everyone, but it kind of seems like you can. Yeah. You might be able to in this moment. I thought that had a lot of weight to it.
She almost echoes like one of those lines from the Luke Cage episode where that guy's like you'll sleep but you'll never rest.
Oh yeah. You'll drink but you'll always stay thirsty. Yeah, definitely. Banner struggles to construct a working time machine until Stark. Yes. Well, Banner struggles to work on a time machine. We didn't really actually talk about that. We probably should talk about that a little bit more. How do you guys feel about Professor Hulk? This amalgamation of Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner,
I popped for Professor Hulk. Because it's been a minute, and in Infinity War he didn't want to come out to fight because he just wanted Hulk out to fight.
They had said several times that because he was not going to get a solo film because they don't own the rights, Universal still has those for a solo Hulk film, that his arc would be expressed in a 3-part series of Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame. So with Ragnarok, we saw him full Thor in full Hulk in Avengers. Infinity War, we saw him full Banner, and this we finally got to see an amalgamation of the two. And I thought it was a little jarring sometimes.
A little bit, yeah.
Hearing him talk.
He looks funny.
And if any of you guys heard my our Avengers review last week, I really was kind of looking for the Hulk to kind of have a moment in this film.
Yeah.
And besides his heroic act, which he does do, I don't feel like I thought he was going to like tear the world down. I thought this was going to be, well, now that I'm on the same page with this guy. But again, you can't check every box in the entire world. So I did like that Ruffalo was able to. We've already said on the show that Ruffalo is the only person to have his likeness impressed upon the Hulk.
Yeah.
In Hulk form. Literally, every other Hulk just looks like a green man. It doesn't look like a green version of the man that we saw prior to the transformation.
Right.
So it's fitting that he would get the one that's merged because that Hulk always resembled him anyway.
So as I saw it, in a sense, even though like this one's a bit more, how do you say, cognizant and eloquent.
Yeah.
Basically, this Hulk is like the one that most people, I feel like, are familiar with, because every Hulk depiction in most like animated media is Green Hulk that speaks half well.
Yes, right.
So it's like
he's in on the meeting.
Never in banner form.
He's in on the meetings as Hulk. He's chatting with them as Hulk. They transfer as Hulk. Yeah, very, very much. So same thing in the comics. Like by the time you get to Infinity War or Gauntlet in the comics, he's just Hulk. He's just chilling as Hulk.
So. Like I said, like especially if you're a kid and you're watching the cartoons or whatever, like he's just always Hulk, and he speaks just maybe on like a 12th grade level or maybe lower than that. He's just a big dumb jock that wants his food and smash things.
Yeah.
So like that part was kind of familiar, but like also what you say about Mark Ruffalo's face being so impressed upon him looks really funny.
Yes, it does.
And then like because Ruffalo's just kind of an awkward guy.
Yeah.
He's like. He's trying to act cool with the kids.
Yeah,
he's
dabbing.
It's like, I'm just sitting there going, stop.
I did like the selfie with Ant-Man moment where he's like, you don't want to take a selfie? I'm
that
Ant-Man.
joke went on so long.
He was like, I'm Ant-Man. He's like, oh, no, don't worry about it. He's like, look at him. He doesn't even want to do it. He's saying no. He's shaking
that joke went on so long. I was like, this is awkward now.
It was funny. But, yeah, Banner tries to work on the time machine because he's the big brain that they brought in. But they basically, instead of sending Scott through time, they send time through Scott, and he becomes a baby, and then an older man, a teenager, and stuff. And Steve goes outside just over everything. He's like, none of this is working, and all of a sudden he hears a car revving up, and it's Tony Stark. And he's
a car so obnoxious that he knows it's Tony before it gets to the car.
Basically, but I love that he says. Why his face? Why the face? Did he turn into a baby? And it's like even you being a dick, you know what happened. Like, you're so smart that you know what happened. He basically explains himself. He's changed his mind. He gives Cap the shield. He said that his dad, made it for him. I thought all that was a poignant moment.
I love that the shield has a theme song.
Yes,
pull it up.
Every time the shield comes out, it's just.
It's so patriotic. But he brings him the shield back, and now that they know that time travel is a possibility, it's time to go round up the rest of the Avengers. So Romanoff travels to Japan to retrieve Clint Barton, who has become a vicious vigilante. In my notes, I have Ronin with a question mark because he's never officially called Ronin.
Right?
Can we call him Ronin?
He has a Ronin tattoo on his arm that is good enough for me.
Ronin man. It's the same thing that even with this film, Captain Marvel is still not named Captain Marvel.
No.
So I find that funny. But
like they rarely ever like, I don't know, a lot of characters don't get named in these things. Other people name them.
Yeah, who called the Hulk the Hulk? I can't remember. He called himself Iron Man. Captain America was called Captain America.
Yeah. Captain
Thor
America
is his
called
name.
Captain America by other people, and he's accepted the name.
Thor is his name. Thor Odin's son is his name.
Right.
Yeah. And then I think he called
the
that
Black
the War
Widow
Machine.
was not her name. People just refer to her as the Black Widow.
Yes, and the War Machine is the name of the armor, not the man.
Right.
It's like they're interesting about the naming concept of these people, because it's like if you're just like jerk that like I am Captain Marvel, it's like
that's another thing. I've always canonically called him Rocket Raccoon. Have they called him Rocket Raccoon in this at all?
No, they call him Rocket, and if they refer to him as a raccoon, he gets
because he's not a raccoon. Yeah.
or Trash Panda.
Yeah. Rocket Trash Panda. He brings Clint back to the Avengers headquarters. You guys got anything to say about Clint and his murderous rampage through Japan?
It was a great scene. And as I heard one person say, it is evocative of the kind of things you can do in movie form with a grounded level like hero if they do cinema Daredevil.
Yes.
Or if they
or
do
Blade or any
or you know they try to like make Iron Fist a thing.
Moon Knight. We got a lot of
Moon Knight,
street level guys. I was surprised at the level of depiction of violence. There wasn't a lot of blood.
I was
but
glad.
he cut a throat.
I was
you know?
Yeah, I was glad about that because we get to see him go through it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's another thing you'll realize in this. You go to watch Avengers: Age of Ultron, and they have that scene where Cap curses, and then it becomes a whole language situation.
Right.
In this, Cap is cursing all way.
Right.
Tony's cursing. Shit is getting thrown around, literally
America's
all in
ass.
America's ass, all that stuff, and I'm like, wow, but they're over it. These Avengers are over
even
it.
though there's jokes, like it's interesting watching the depictions without getting too movie nerdish.
Yeah,
I'm sure Dan Richards was here for this. Like you can see sort of the differences in the way they depict quote unquote the violence between the two Joss Whedon films and these two Russo films.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
Because like you get the moment where Cap goes in and knocks over a bunch of guys, and they have that scene where it's just like, "Great talk." He's like, "No, it wasn't."
Yes, yeah. Where this is played for the brutality that it is. The guy is begging with his hand on his throat with the blood squirting out. Please help me. He's like, no. He just stabs him through the hand.
You die.
I did like the back and forth where he says, "Don't give me hope," and her response is, "I'm sorry, I wasn't able to give it to you sooner." I was like, I feel that. I feel that for you. And so that is the biggest reveal. That is the biggest shocker that Hawkeye is now Ronin until we go to New Asgard off the coast of Scotland. And obviously, the comic readers in the movie theaters their ears start to tingle because they remember when Asgard was placed on Earth and placed in America. And, well, this is not America, but placed on Earth where other threats can come to it. Siege, stuff like that. So I'm very much looking forward to all that.
Do you remember the place, though?
Broxton?
No, not that place. The place right in the movie.
No.
That is the place that Red Skull goes to get the Tesseract, where the Yggdrasil is in the first Avenger.
Wow.
That makes a lot of sense. Why they would think that was home, that had a
There's
place.
There's a connection there.
Midgard. So that's their Midgard connection through the realms. That's actually that's awesome.
Because when I heard that too, it's just like, oh yeah, because that guy he starts telling the story of Yggdrasil and the World Tree, which is the exact same story Thor starts telling in the first movie. So there's that connection there.
Yeah. Definitely.
So
another
like,
bow
cool.
wrapped. You see?
Yes.
So, all the Asgardians are there. Well, at least the survivors of that whole thing, and they're just chilling. They're not really imposing their will on anybody. Like these are godlike people, but they're kind of just hanging out. They're refugees.
They just happen to be alive.
They're refugees. Banner and Rocket, they show up there. I like how Banner was talking to Valkyrie because they know each other. But they find Thor, who's basically become a fat drunk.
Oh my god!
Body of ice cream.
And they say he looks like an ice cream.
He turns
looks
around,
like melted ice
like,
cream.
No.
Melted ice cream.
Fat Thor, guys. How do you feel about Fat Thor? I guess I'll get
sense.
I'll get it off. I'll get it off my chest first. It's gonna take me a while to fully accept Fat Thor.
Okay.
Because I was very impressed by Thor's portrayal in Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he was funny.
Right.
But you can't take away that Bring Me Thanos moment. You know what I'm saying? That is Thor in my head. That is Thor in my head. So to go from that to that was a little bit thing. But what I find, I don't like that the fat was played so much up for jokes, I guess is the thing. I don't mind him being fat and all that stuff. What makes it for me is the moments of quietness when he is serious. He brings it.
Yes.
Hemsworth freaking brings it. There's this one point where they're talking about they've already established the gauntlet, and he's like, "Please, let me do it. Let me do something." And I'm like, "Oh my god! Like you're going through this."
Oh, the moment where he's just like he's being as jolly as he can be, and they even mentioned Thanos, and they were just like, "Oh no, we don't."
He just goes into like this. He has PTSD, he has post-traumatic stress, and so he just the mere mention of all the people that he let down by not being able to cut off this guy's head. But we see Korg and Meek, and they're playing Fortnite.
Playing Fortnite.
Freaking Fortnite.
Fortnite made it to the MCU, B. It's big.
I
That
can't.
is big.
That's big. Mortal Kombat's in the DCEU.
Oh yes, it is. That's right.
So I guess that makes sense. Thor's like, I'm not doing any of this. Screw that. I'm fine living here. This is the kind of life I want to live. Whatever, whatever, whatever. And Rocket's like, well, there's beer on the ship. And then he picks his eyes up and he's bloodshot. He's basically crying. And he's like, what kind of beer? Because they found hope and he wants this hope, but he don't believe that he's worthy of the hope. He don't believe that he's worthy of a second chance at all this because given the first, he failed so miserably.
Yes.
And so he has this survivor's guilt and that depression, man, is big. But do you think Fat Thor was worth it? It was definitely the biggest shocker because they hid him from all the trailers and all that there.
There's one scene I think that I can. Well, no, there's a few scenes, but like there's the one scene that's in the beginning where he looks fine. He calls Stormbreaker in front of Carol.
Yes.
But like there's one scene in the trailer that like I find that now that I'm still very disappointed that you never see it because there's just this scene of him in the air, literally crackling with lightning as he looks at Stormbreaker.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what is that moment?
Oh yeah,
I need to see it. That is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It sucked. I do think he's a very good actor. So when he's finally, I honestly feel like he's finally resided in this role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like he's finally believes himself to be Thor.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. Like I wouldn't be surprised.
I think the Ragnarok movie invigorated him, and like as long as they're doing that kind of thing, he's happy to.
In a way, he's almost playing a new character.
Yeah.
But gets the beauty of all the weight of what the character's done up until this point.
All the weight.
And so the Avengers recount their previous interactions with all the stones and determine that they can split into teams of 4 and get all 6. Thor and Rocket will go after the Ether by traveling to the events of Thor: The Dark World. Nebula and Rhodey are set to take the stone before Quill does in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Hawkeye and Black Widow will travel with Rhodey and Nebula to space and then use a ship to go to Volmir and retrieve the Soul Stone, while Tony, Steve, Hulk, and Ant-Man go back to the events of the first Avengers film to retrieve the space and
Mind and Time Stones.
Space Mind and Time Stones. I wrote down the conversation that they have with Thor, where Thor is explaining the Ether. And this is my best.
Oh, jeez.
So Jane. There she is. So Jane, she's an old flame of mine. She stuck her hand inside of a rock this one time, and then the Ether stuck itself inside of her, and she became very, very sick. And so I had to take her to Asgard, which is where I'm from, and we had to try to fix her. We were dating at the time, you see. I got to introduce her to my mother, who's dead, and Jane and I aren't even dating anymore, so these things happen, nothing lasts forever. The only thing that, and Tony Stark says, why don't you come sit down? He goes, I'm not done yet. The only thing that's permanent in life is impermanence, which is like the most depressing thing to say. And then Tony says, that's awesome. Eggs, breakfast? And he goes, no, I'd like a Bloody Mary. So I thought that was good. But ultimately, and you've seen this in the trailer, you see my man Cap, and he says, 5 years ago, we lost all of us. We lost friends, we lost family, we lost a part of ourselves. Today, we have a chance to take all that back. You know your teams, you know your missions, get the stones, get them back, 1 round trip each. No mistakes, no do-overs. Most of us are going somewhere we know. That doesn't mean we should know what to expect. Be careful. Look out for one another. This is the fight for our lives, and we're going to win, whatever it takes. Good luck. And then Rock is like, he's pretty good at that. And then Scott Lang's like, right? And I thought so too. While he was saying it, I knew what he was doing.
Right.
And I was like, he's gotten so good at
these rousing speeches.
And it's a speech, but you're glued to it because he inspires. He's able to inspire with these speeches. And that definitely worked for me. So let's get to the time heist. Before we get to time heist, when they were going through like where the stones were and stuff like that, from this moment on in the film, this feels to me like when you go see, I don't know, Wu-Tang. And Wu-Tang goes and they're going to play all their greatest hits. They're playing every song that you've ever banged to when you were 10, when you were 15, when you were 20, and all the hits and all the misses. Oh, no, none of the misses. All the hits, all the classics are played. And then on top of that,
Best of album.
and they're doing their own improv in the middle of these these songs that you know. So they're not songs that you know anymore. They're adding more elements, and then by the time you get to the third act, it becomes this Kiss concert of fire and smoke and dragons, and I was just so like, oh, it's so rock star, so heavy metal. I completely dig where this thing went, but yeah, Barton tests the little thing, and that was heartbreaking too, right? Because he gets to see his daughter for a second.
And he almost blew it.
Yeah, he gets to see his daughter for a second, and then he doesn't. He gets brought back, but the time thing works, and they, like I said, they spoke a bunch about like your future is your
future becomes your past, and then your past becomes your future.
Your past becomes your something like that. But basically, it doesn't follow the same rules that we believe, that if I kill you in the past, you don't exist in the future. That's the biggest thing they want you to take away.
Right.
Killing somebody in the past does not kill them in the future. You have to kill them in the past and then kill them in the future, I guess.
You have to kill both.
Kill both of them, yeah. But
sure.
Banner, Rogers, and Lang and Stark travel to New York City, where Loki is using the Mind Stone to steal the Space Stone and commit alien warfare on Earth. Rogers manages to steal the Mind Stone, aka Loki's scepter, from a platoon of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents by pretending he's Hydra. Secret invasion nod, huh? Secret invasion callback. What do you guys think about that? I thought there was totally going to be an elevator fight. I was like, oh, he's going to do it again.
But the minute he told him trust him, I was like, oh.
When he said Hail Hydra, my heart still fell. I knew he was faking it, but it still fell because I was like, you're not supposed to say that.
I loved it.
But I got it. I completely got it.
I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it
and
too,
that was a little thing where I was just like, this is the most secret empire I've ever going to get on screen, and I'm going to revel in this moment.
I also really dug the smile he gives when he leaves out of the elevator. So
he's like,
these idiots.
Got him.
That was easy.
And like the little inside joke of watching the events right after of what we perceive to be the end of Avengers,
right?
Like,
where they come get the
I
scepter.
think I'll take that drink.
Yeah, and then he goes to takes the Shield comes to lock up the scepter and the Tesseract, and they're like, who are those guys? And Stark's like, they're Shield. Well, they're kind of Hydra, but we didn't know that at the time. And Stark's like, they look like bad guys. How you didn't know they were Hydra? Which made me laugh. And seeing Crossbones again, eventually seeing Alexander Pierce again. That really got me. I love Winter Soldier.
Robert Redford is retired. I want to make that point.
Yes, Robert Redford, the Mule was supposed to be his last film. Yes. Like that. And no, his last film might be Infinity. I mean Endgame. It might be an MCU role, and that is so poetic. But yeah, you see that Hydra thing completely got me. And then he gets into a showdown with himself because his past self thinks he's Loki, which literally just happened in that film. Yes, he had literally just changed into him and made fun of him. Mm-hmm. So he's like, oh, here comes Loki again. He's out and about.
I just love that moment where you get that Captain America line. He's just like, I can do this all day. Yeah, I know.
I know.
I get it. Yeah.
God, I'm so sick of myself.
That was very, very funny because that up until that point had become a very poignant line for the character. Right. It very much defines that character. Yeah. And he knows it defines him. So he definitely knows it defines his past self. So he's like, yes, I get it. We all know. And I did feel like that joke was with us fans. Like, we all get it. We all know I can do this all day. And that was very funny.
But then he also hits it with the other kind of joke that the fans have about Captain America.
Oh, yeah. You talking about the America's ass?
No, about the trigger word.
Oh, yes. Where was...
Past Cap has him in like a choke.
He's able to subdue him. He's able to subdue Pasty by revealing Bucky is alive, something that Pasty wouldn't find out until the events of Winter Soldier. Yep. So he was all like, "What?"
He's like, "I'm going to react to this. I know I am. Bucky's alive." What?
Now, both of you stopped me from going on a diatribe, but I have to introduce this because it was something that was said, and I think it's unfair. Someone equated that moment to the Martha moment.
A few of us.
And so, while I do think the effects are the same.
Right.
If this movie was called Captain America versus Captain America, I would have been as disappointed with that moment. But I literally
it's got to deal with with circumstance too, because at the time, if you're doing that and you hear that, it's kind of like a mind blow moment. Like, what?
Yeah.
So it's not like coincidentally we have the same mother.
Yes.
The same name for our mothers,
Yeah, I know this is
me.
You would react to it. I know you would react to it.
You're me, I'm me,
In many ways, I don't think, we didn't know if Superman thought Batman would react that way, but Stark.
So even if you did say it, even if he did say it, you know how he was gonna react
because he's him.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
You and I am him.
Without getting too far off course, it is a story that Snyder played with the idea of having it be the same mother.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Which I was just like,
yeah, get it? Yeah.
No,
doesn't work that way.
stop it. Someone stop this man.
So yeah, but he got it. He's got the scepter. So Lang and Stark attempt to steal the Space Stone, but that fails when Stark drops the stone after being run into by the Hulk. Basically, what happens? They make Ant-Man give Tony Stark a heart attack. Who then drops the case holding the Tesseract.
Uh-huh.
And then Tony Stark just thinks he's gonna grab and walk away, but the Hulk, who's been forced to take the stairs.
Confused look, like, the heck?
I don't understand what any of this is. The Hulk, who's been forced to take the stairs due to occupancy laws of the elevator, very frustrated, breaks through the wall and knocks into Tony Stark, who drops the Tesseract. Loki grabs it, disappears, up and disappears, and almost like last time, it's like, did we just lose? It was another one of those moments of like, is that just gone? Like gone now, which is very important. But luckily, even though Loki was able to escape the Tesseract, Rogers and Stark deduced that they can use the last of their size-altering pin particles to travel to S.H.I.E.L.'s secret base under Camp Lehigh, I hope I'm saying that right, in 1970. We see Stan Lee. Stephanie Stanley.
Yes.
I dug that. Make Love, Not War. Tony steals the Space Stone from S.H.I.E.L.'s vault, where he's approached by Howard Stark, and the two get to have a conversation about parenthood.
The ever-changing face of Howard Stark.
Who do you prefer? Do you prefer the Iron Man 2 Howard Stark, or do you prefer the First Avenger Howard Stark?
I like the First Avenger. What's his name? Dominic something?
Yeah, he's the one who
Yeah,
plays
I prefer that one too.
He's the one who plays in Agent Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Agent Carter and First Avenger.
But I guess
I like that guy.
But I guess he's well, he's not Grant. When Iron Man and First Avenger came out the same year, right? Iron Man 2 and the First Avenger?
Iron Man.
I'm trying to see which Howard Stark gets to screen first.
First Avenger.
Was before Iron Man 2?
Was Howard in Iron Man?
Iron Man 2.
Yeah, he was in Iron Man.
That was
Two.
remember because he had to create an element, and his dad made like a diorama, and he said that my greatest gift is you.
I want to check.
Okay.
Even though
I haven't seen it in so long.
Yeah, it's that one, and he's the one because he's doing like Stark Expo commercials. And then Tony comes in and he's like, get out of here. He's like, get out of here, you. And then eventually he records a message for Tony where he's like, I want you to know that even though, I may be frustrated sometimes with this, that, and third, my greatest invention is you. And so I do like them tying it back to that one. Because that's also the same one from Civil War. You know?
Okay, yeah. Iron Man 2 comes out before First Avenger.
So technically... Homie outwins the Howard Stark battle.
I guess so. Like, there are maybe 5 Howard Stark appearances, and he gets 3.
Yeah,
because that's Iron Man 2, Winter Soldier as Old Man Howard.
Ant-Man.
Oh, he's in Ant-Man.
In the beginning, isn't it Howard, Peggy, and Hank Pym?
Hank Pym.
I only remember Peggy and Hank. I didn't remember who was the other guy.
I think Howard might be there. Or he might be dead because Bucky kind of gets to that.
Yeah.
deals with that. But you also have him in Civil War. Through the flashback.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Winter Soldier, Old Man.
Was he in Winter Soldier?
Because he gets punched in the face several times.
Yes.
It goes like Sergeant Bonds.
Yeah,
Bang!
Bang. Yes. So... We do get Howard Stark. How'd you guys like Tony being able to have the conversation with his papa that he would have never been able to have otherwise?
I appreciate it. I was like, okay, this is a good cathartic moment for Tony.
I don't think that hair works on that actor.
It wasn't great.
I like it white.
Yeah,
with the black and the gray.
It's the times, I guess.
I thought he was gonna oust him. When but then again, I feel like he kind of he let him.
No clue what his kid
but then I feel like he let him rock for some weird reason.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I feel like I got the vibe from that. Yeah,
he's down there messing with stuff, but maybe he just doesn't know who works there.
This is a recurring theme. We see it a little bit with Thor as well, but I couldn't. I don't mean to make this too personal,
right?
But as somebody who's lost a parent, I couldn't look my father in the face knowing that when I left this interaction, I will never see him again.
Right.
And I can't be honest to him in this moment here.
Uh-huh.
Thor is able to be honest. He's able to, tell his mom, and they have that. But the restraint of Tony in that moment.
Oh, hell yeah.
The restraint of Tony.
I thought that was crazy too.
To
doesn't he almost slip up a couple of times too?
Well, let's see. And don't answer, GT. What name does he give him?
Gives himself?
What name does he give Howard? What's his name?
Kid.
No. What name does he say his name is?
His name is.
I'm Howard Stark. What does Tony say his name is?
Wow, I can't believe I forgot.
It's Howard Potts.
Potts, that's right.
Because he was like, "What's your name?" He's like, "Howard." He goes, "Oh, that's easy to remember. My name is Howard too. I'm Howard Stark." And he goes, "I'm Howard Potts."
Yes.
I forgot.
I can't think of names.
So Howard Potts. Howard Potts.
I was gonna say Howard at first, but then I was like, no, that's the first name he gave.
There was a lot of Tony looking at him like, I still can't believe this is happening right now. Like,
right.
just
like
in
you're right
amazement.
in front of me.
And to hear him say, like, I'm gonna try the best to be a good father, but I don't know if I'm going to be. And knowing that the relationship was kind of tumultuous as it is, and then being able to tell his father that, although you may think you may not be doing the right things, your son will ultimately be grateful and be happy for that. And he gives him the big hug, and Howard's like, he's like, "Thank you." And Howard's like for your service to this country.
yeah.
So that ends that. But I thought that was very poetic, and I Stark deserved that.
Which leads us to the only actual
Jarvis thing.
The only actual TV graduation to movie, which is Edwin Jarvis.
Yes.
From Agent Carter.
So
with a completely different Howard Stark.
Now this is something that's funny because when that happened, the entire theater awed. The entire theater because it clicked. It was a click that it was such a small moment, literally seconds on the screen. But in that small moment, they were able to link something that was not insignificant, but were able to give more weight to something.
Yes.
And that's what this movie was. It was literally adding sprinkles to all the ice cream cones that were these movies in this cinematic universe. Cap snacks some vials of Pym particles by telling Hank Pym that there's like an experiment in delivery that's opened and people are getting sick. He's like, "You had a box get delivered to you? People opened it and something green's coming out of it and people getting sick." So Hank runs down to deal with that. He's able to steal Pym particles and he sees Peggy Carter. Now, this is something that's interesting because I am slow as hell. Because in my mind, I'm like, oh, like, okay, he sees Peggy Carter. Of course, like, that's my long lost love. It is what it is. It never once occurred to me that this is the first time he's seen her
since
looking like she did before he got frozen.
Yeah.
The next time he sees her, she's 90 years old.
Alzheimer's.
Yeah, the next time he sees her, she's 90 years old. So this is the closest he gets to being the age that he's supposed to be, the age that she's supposed to be. And in the same room. It's been so long. I've been being in the same room. And again, the complete restraint in that moment to not just get what's yours, get what it's coming to you, and let whatever the effects happen in the past/future.
Right.
That can happen. But the two shake off their emotional hangups and they return to the compound. Very shortly, Bruce Banner visits the Sanctum Sanctorum, and every time I think of Doctor Strange and Sanctum Sanctorum, I think of you, GT, because I know you're a big fan of the magic and the Sorcerer Supreme and the Sanctums. Mm-hmm. But it was how much of a cool layer was it to say that she was also simultaneously defending the Sanctum?
I was like,
during
that was
invasion.
really cool to me.
Yeah, that was cool.
I didn't even consider that, like, the Sanctum's in New York and having to deal with this, and it was like, oh. She's just defending.
Yeah, and
because you see the shot when she just.
Yeah, she's just taking them out. Don't get close.
Yep.
None to see here. Keep blowing up. Midtown.
Don't down that way.
Yeah, go blow up Midtown. You ain't got to worry about nothing here. There's nothing to see here. I thought that was really, really cool.
Yes.
That they went that route. Tilda Swinton is great. She heard the weight that she gave. Everything she said was like somebody who lived 1,000 years ago. And the look that she gives, first of all, knocking Bruce out of the Hulk.
Yeah,
that whole,
that was ill. That was yeah.
I was like, yeah, you have no idea what you're dealing with here, bro. This past the realm. You're brute strength, but this is past the realm of that.
You know not what you mess with.
Yes, this is a whole nother ball game here, Brucey boy.
I heard a few people thought they were gonna stay that way.
I hope that it wasn't that thing.
They were gonna do a thing where they fully separate the Hulk from Banner.
I guess they could have in that moment, but I'm glad that they decided to keep him in. But he tells her that Doctor Strange also gave up the stone, and her face drops.
Yeah,
her face drops like if she just found out like everyone's gonna die tomorrow.
How did you feel about the implication that she knows about Strange already?
I felt like there was an implication of her having that vast time omnipotence before.
Okay.
So it didn't bother me because I felt like, and maybe I'm feeling in my own headcanon, but I felt like she had said something a lot about like that's not to happen or that's not to pass. I think it's when her death. When you're talking about her
He
death,
expects Doctor Strange to be there, and he mentions it, and she's like, "Doctor Strange won't be here for 5 years."
Yeah, but in her death, she visits Strange and she talks about like knowing that the death was going to come the whole time or something like that.
Future possibility.
So maybe that's where I got it from. But I did think it was. I think it's cool that there's still that whole movie hasn't taken place yet. The rises and the falls of that movie, and that she's well aware that all that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
it's also makes it interesting in the sense that like because there's never like a poignant timeline to the actual Doctor Strange movie, you tell that his adventure has been taking place from before the crash in Avengers 1 in New York to around Winter Soldier when Sitwell mentions his name.
That he's a threat.
Up until the Doctor Strange film and into Infinity War.
Until he shows up. Yeah, Ragnarok.
The actual powerful.
Yeah, Ragnarok 2 where he
does
Loki and Odin and all that kind of
stuff.
stuff.
The Doctor Strange story has been happening under all of this.
I also would have loved to see the Ancient One throw the hands with Thanos because I'm like,
oh yeah, that would have been kind of cool.
But yeah, I have to give it up to Tilda Swinton. I really, really dug that performance. I dug the gravitas of that character. It does feel like an Ancient One.
Yes.
It does feel like somebody who has literally all the powers that they can have. But yeah, so she tells him that they have to return the stones to their original time frames to prevent the universe and timelines from breaking down. Very important. They can't just take them and do what they want with them. They have to bring them back. Mm-hmm. So that's where we will leave the time, space, and mind stones. Let's get to the reality stone. Rocket and Thor travel to Asgard in 2013 to retrieve the reality stone from Jane Foster, effectively forcing everybody who hated Thor the Dark World to watch Thor the Dark World. All of y'all. All right? I know y'all don't
not sorry. I'm the one who liked it.
I know you like to kick. I know people like to kick Thor the Dark World, but now you have to watch it, and now it has so much more gravitas when you realize that
now you have to go back and rewatch it with that in mind.
Exactly. Thor considers himself unable to complete the task once he realizes his mother dies on that day.
On that day, yeah.
But after receiving a pep talk from Mom and Rocket, Rocket's able to retrieve the ether, and Thor obtains his former hammer Mjolnir, and is proud to see that after all this, he's still worthy.
Don't leave out Natalie Portman's important 6 seconds.
Natalie Portman stands up, wakes up, and stands up,
and gets a credit for
people
it.
Keep telling me that it's new footage. I can't tell. That could have been.
I can't tell.
That could have been Dark World, and you just. The only character that was there with her was a CGI character. You could put that in post. That's got to be easy.
Right. I don't even think they show her face.
Yeah, you understand? So come on. Let's get to it.
But she got a credit for it, so what can you do?
Yeah, so I guess.
That screen came up Natalie Portman.
Oh my god.
We couldn't even get Hugo Weaving back.
Maybe they're trying to bring her back as female Thor.
Doubt it.
But yeah. How'd you feel about Thor and his mama's reuniting? That moment there.
I was amused with Rene Russo's just being like, yeah, no, you're for the future. I was raised by witches, boy. I get this. This is all messy.
I feel like that's happened before, and I always like it when that happens. When someone's just like, no, you're time traveling. Like, oh, when it happened in Spider-Verse, where she's like, you're probably from another dimension, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, let's cut all the crap. Like, come on, we get this. And she's like, I was born of witches, boy. Like, what do you think this is? Thor, man, so sad in that moment.
Yeah, I feel like he needed that.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
He needed to hear from his mother.
If anybody would have to have that interaction with their parent, I think it should have been Thor. And
now thinking about it, in many ways, that was one of his first failures. when his mother got stabbed by Malekith and he throws that damn hammer as hard as he can, but it doesn't go anywhere.
Misses.
It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't hit what he thinks it's gonna hit. Just in that second, had he been faster, had he been all the things that he worries about in the Thanos situation, had he been quicker, had he struck harder, maybe his mother would still be alive. And it's all of that weight of all of that Loki, Odin, Hela, sometimes Asgard, all of that. If I could have. And in this moment, his mom's like, "Don't worry about it." And Mjolnir is kind of like, "Don't worry about it. You are still worthy." And then let's go to the Power Stone because that's actually what the next scene is. On Morag, the same year, Nebula and Rhodes steal the Power Stone before Quill can. I thought it was a laugh riot watching it from the other perspective of Quill singing and dancing in the thing. It's hilarious because while he's singing, it's like when you sing in the shower. While he's singing with the song, it just all looks stylistic and fun.
Like watching Guardians of the Galaxy, it's that how do you say, that digestible music moment where it's playing through the screen and like you're just watching the film.
In the moment,
because like those two are just watching him sing to himself like an idiot.
Yeah, because you've had headphones on. You sang a song that you've liked, but you've never heard yourself on the outside.
And so seeing them, watch him dance around and do the spin and kick animals and singing his horrible tone. I thought all of that was really, really cool.
How did you feel about the team of Nebula and Rhodes?
It felt like the crust of the sandwich that you cut off. I don't know how else I would have structured it, but
I didn't get it.
Rhodey was kind of there to just say like ridiculous stuff in this film. I feel like in a lot of ways.
I didn't get it at first until I did, and I'll tell you when as you explain it further. As you keep going through it.
Okay, so yeah, we got our team out there on the Power Stone. Rhodes, first they are able to subdue Quill, use his thief's tool. That's a tool a thief has to open up the
Tools
thing.
Of a thief.
He's trying to warn that it might be like Temple of Doom and Spikes might come out and all a bunch of stuff. And they have kind of a moment.
A movie she's never seen.
They have kind of a moment because she goes to reach for the Power Stone. Her, I guess, synthezoid skin gets burnt to a crisp. All that's left is a metal hand. She gives him the Power Stone, and she's like, I wasn't always like this. And he's like, neither was I.
That's the connection for them. Like, they are both broken people being held together by parts.
Yeah. One broken by her father, the other one broken by Tony. But I get it. You know what I'm saying?
By Vision.
By Vision. Who's absent in this film? I kept expecting Vision to show up. No Vision.
Right.
Vision is.
Vision is.
Someone needs to reboot that. Take it to the Apple Store. Get your Vision fixed. You know? You can get it done. How do you guys feel about the fact that future Nebula is locked in with past Nebula, and so Thanos is able to see future Nebulas and the entire Avengers plan?
I thought that was an awesome workaround because I was wondering how he was gonna end up finding them or coming around to them.
I had not thought that Thanos would be the final villain. I didn't know what I thought was gonna happen.
Right.
I literally was just on the road for it. Because I kept thinking, like, if they reverse it, then maybe they'll fight him, and it'll just be like a, why did you guys do that? Like, kind of thing. But I never thought, like, that they would use one from the past to come up. And we should have, because he had all the armor that he had in the past.
Right.
And all that stuff. But all these trailers are deceiving anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I just remember sitting in the theater just going, oh, no.
Yes.
Screwed.
Thanos uses the connection to access future Nebula's memories and thereby learns of not only the Avengers' plan, but what I think is more important, that he freaking wins.
Yeah.
When his look on his face when he realizes that, oh, I do this? And not only do I do this, the effects are so bad, people are going back in time
to
try to reverse it.
Unprecedented measures to stop me.
Oh, like, I am cool. This is, but what's funny, and we'll get into this when we get like towards the end of the film, but it's very much like that whole, you don't tell yourself what is going to happen in the future because then you're going to change your actions and you're not going to get there. And I feel like that's exactly what happened. I think that Thanos came to this with a level of arrogance that older Thanos didn't have. And that's what ultimately ends up costing him everything at the end of this film. But he
But I also think that level of arrogance is compounded by the idea that, like, oh, they're gonna find all these stones and round them up for me even faster.
yes, and I'll just snatch them from the one who has the most.
All I have to do is just like maintain the course.
I just gotta be there.
You know, yeah, just
yeah. And so they kidnap past Gamora. Yeah. They kidnap future Nebula, and Gamora's in this because this is the Gamora from 2014.
right.
2014 Nebula takes the nice little pin particle and the nice new orange decal head thing and places it on. And so evil 2014 past Nebula is now going to go to the future as a spy and act like nothing ever happened. So everybody's back. Well, no, we gotta go to Soul Stone. Barton and Romanoff go to Viewer in 2014 and learn that the Soul Stone's keeper, the Red Skull.
I know this is bad from the start.
He said there could only be one. That a soul needed to be sacrificed, soul for a soul for the stone. I don't know why I didn't do the math earlier. That would be the case. It happened like right when they got to it, and he started talking to him. I was like, oh, and then it also makes me look at Red Skull a weird way because he's just the guy that's like, yeah, you got to do that. No, you're gonna have to. Like, they're not gonna do it. Like he's the guy.
He's like Joe Rogan in Fear Factor trying to convince you to eat those bull balls.
Literally, he's just sitting on the sidelines like, are they gonna? Oh, they did it!
Oh man!
Oh, you guys
did
sick.
that? Oh man!
Look at her.
You guys are sick. I was just joking. Here's the stone. After a brief struggle, they prevent each other from sacrificing one another. But Romanoff ultimately sacrifices herself, and Barton returns to the present with the Soul Stone. I thought that, and after returning from their point in time, the Avengers realize that Black Widow isn't among them. Hawkeye reveals that she has sacrificed her life for the Soul Stone. I want to talk a little bit about the death of Black Widow. Here, how did you guys feel about that moment when it happened?
I mean, I didn't get it till like late, only because of the effects of the snap. From her perspective, I thought of it way more because Clint's got a family. Yeah. Granted, she does too, and with the Avengers and everybody else.
But I believed him when he said, "I've killed way too many people for this." I was
thinking, me too. So it kind of like evened out. In a sense.
I was like, bro, if you have been out there getting blood, maybe you do need to pay some of that blood back. Like I was thinking that,
maybe.
You know. But the idea that Widow, like, somebody called her the most tragic character in this franchise because she never really gets what she wants or deserves. I don't know how
she's getting that movie.
Yes, she does. You talking about that romantic comedy with no?
So she does it with Clint in mind, having a daughter and a wife.
Yes,
and knowing that they also both got dusted,
and that she got read on her ledger.
Yep.
So she's always since then always felt like she had to.
But at the same
work to
at the same time, Clint kind of also has that red too.
Yeah,
you know, so
definitely.
But like, in a sense, like Widow is the pragmatic choice. For one thing, she's a spy without a cover anymore.
Yes.
So like that part of her life is completely gone. She's only this Avengers thing.
Yeah.
She has no prior family left. There's no possibility for a future family.
Right. Because she had that surgery.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, she has less to lose than Hawkeye does, who's working to get his family back.
And that's why I want to bring it back around to some more quotes. This is back to Major Issues Theater. Because I thought that this was a very poignant, powerful exchange of things. Stark goes, "Do you know if she had a family?" And Steve Rogers goes, "Yeah, us."
Yeah, man.
And then you get, "Why are we acting like she's dead? We have the stones, right? As long as we have the stones, Cap, we can bring her back. Isn't that right? Stop this shit. We're the Avengers. Get it together." And then Barton goes, "We can't get her back." What? It can't be undone. It can't. I'm sorry. No offense. But you're a very earthly being, okay? And what we're talking about is space magic. And can't seems very definitive, don't you think? Yeah, look. I know that I'm way outside my pay grade here, but she isn't here, is she? No, that's my point. It can't be undone. Or at least that's what the the red floating guy had to say. Maybe you want to go talk to him, okay? Grab your hammer and you go fly and you talk to him. And I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you get. And he goes
stepping up to the space god.
Right,
yeah,
right.
He only got arrow. And he's like, it was supposed to be me. She sacrificed her life for that goddamn stone. She bet her life on it. And then Bruce Banner picks up a bench, just flings it into the distance, and he goes, "She's not coming back. We have to make it worth it. We have to." And then Roger says, "We will."
Did you wonder if there was going to be like some weird child waiting for him in that scene inside the stone or whatever?
I was wondering what was up with that. I did wonder if there was some, because there was a lot of theories about universes and all that kind of stuff. What could be going on inside the stone? But I know that in that moment, like I was like already emotionally exhausted at that point. Like I'm watching everybody get torn apart and stuff, and all for these stones. And the way he says it, like, for these goddamn stones, is like he knows what it's all gonna bring, but it's still not worth completely of the friend that he had to lose for it, which puts them in such an awkward position when it comes to that.
It also reminds me of a line that got mentioned more than I feel like it got mentioned a few times, but most especially just in the last film where like Vision says we don't trade lives.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is something that Vision had heard someone else say.
Yeah. No, I think it's Cap that says it, because Vision tries to give his life, and Cap's like, "We don't."
Vision says it back to him.
Yeah, he's like, After at the end, he's like, "We don't trade lives, Captain." And I miss Vision. I miss that British voice, but we got Thor, so I guess that works. Let's get to this third act. Banner and Stark and Rocket construct a new Infinity Gauntlet, and Banner uses it to restore everyone because no one else is able to withhold that much power. And he theorizes there might be some gamma radiation coming from it.
Yes.
And he's like, "That's all." He says it like in the most reserved way, though. He's like, It's like it was made for me. He says it like so depressed and stuff like that.
He's not really ready for this.
No, he's not really ready at all. But he's wearing that purple suit that everyone's been seeing him in all those weird leak shots or whatever. That weird singlet thing, that MVP, the MVP attire that he used to rock. But yeah, they snap. And then you see birds outside. You hear birds, you see birds. I don't know if that's definitive to bringing everybody back, but Lang starts to theorize that everyone's brought back. He says, "Guys, I think it worked." And all of a sudden, in the background, you see Nebula, evil Nebula, has not chosen to bring Thanos through the time portal, or not chosen to bring Thanos in the Black Order through the time portal. No. His whole ship, the biggest ship in his armada, comes through the time portal. And right
Sanctuary?
I knew it too. Right when I think it is called Sanctuary. Yeah. Right when they think that they have reversed the effects of the snap, Thanos rains hell on the Avengers compound in a way that I thought time was getting the Avengers back for thinking that they had it. I was like, this is over. We're gonna have to go back in time again.
He really did air them out.
Everybody's dead. Yeah.
It that one scene sort of reminded me of Aquaman, because it's just Scott Lang going out there and just like the birds are back. Oh yeah. The sun is shining.
Interruption
to the face.
Explosion. Interruption. And it's not one explosion. They literally pepper the whole compound. Boom, 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 boom. And everybody is basically unable to get back up. Rocket, Hulk, Rhodey.
Yeah.
Nebula is not Nebula. And so the only guys that are able to kind of get their bearings back are Cap, Thor, and Iron Man. Thanos beams down to Earth and sends Nebula after the stones. Mm-hmm. Seeing him seemingly just sitting down, Cap, Thor, and Iron Man decide to take him head on. Thor summons lightning and wields both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, although he doesn't change in appearance, minus the braided beard. Did you think he was going to go back to fit Thor?
I was hoping so.
I was hoping so too.
I was kind of hoping that, like, being worthy and all that, like, he was just.
Although,
but in Thor's defense, when he was dressed, you kind of didn't see it.
And in Marvel's defense,
and that braid beard was weird.
In Marvel, that felt very more Odin than it did Thor. In Marvel's defense, they have opened up a whole new line of cosplay for those who always wanted to be the Odin son, but maybe did not have the Odin body. We have been granted this opportunity to be worthy. Yes. So
Thor for everyone.
There's a Thor for all seasons. Yes. There's a Thor for all seasons. The Mad Titan tells them that he will use the Infinity Stone. Like, this is probably my favorite part of the film, because now he's just mad. He's like, I was gonna do what my old self did, which is basically snap my fingers and get rid of half of y'all. But now I know that if I do that, the half that's still here is gonna remember that, and they're probably gonna not accept this new path. I have to get it down to 0. He said, "I will strip and shred this universe down to the atom."
He's been completely radicalized.
It's over. There's no one's gonna see my way, so everyone needs to go. And there will be no one to complain because there will be no one, period. And so he is ready for that. But our OG Avengers, they ain't dealing with that. His plan is to destroy the entire current universe and rebuild it so that no one remembers the old one. And a battle begins between Thanos and one half of the OG Avengers. But Thanos gets the better of Thor and tries, just like Thor did in that film, to press Stormbreaker through the chest of Odin's son.
Can I say before we continue, I love the sort of how do you say his reserved attitude. Like
Thanos or Thor's?
Thanos.
Okay.
Like he just comes up into it. He gives Nebula instructions and all that. He's just like, well,
yeah, he just takes a seat.
Let's go sit here. They go come to me.
And even when they're talking about it, they're like, "Is he just sitting there?" Yeah. Like, where are the stones? They're still in the compound. I guess we should try and do this. Like, it was very, like, none of this makes sense.
Should we just go punch him?
So there's Thor on death's door, and he reaches his hand out to grab Mjolnir. You see Mjolnir float and rise from the ground and strike Thanos, but it's not Thor who's using Mjolnir on the Mad Titan. It's actually Captain America himself, Steve Rogers, in one of the best moments of this film. My entire theater erupted.
I screamed.
Did you?
Yes.
Yeah, I did. I popped so much for that, man.
I screamed, yes!
I said, fuck yeah, he's fucking worthy.
My
And I know we
baby
usually
boy.
don't curse on this cast,
So
but this is the end game.
So granted, you know how I was during Civil War, but I already at the end of Civil War already had a great respect for Cap.
Yeah. So
just seeing all of this at the time when it happened was just so freaking, like, it was not one. It was so eye candy. It was eye candy galore. But 2, it was just the payoff for that was awesome. Because in Age of Ultron, you see it kind of budge.
So then I'm gonna
ask.
I have to ask you guys the question: in Age of Ultron, could he have picked it up then, and he didn't because Thor was a little bit like, or was that just like, I'm this enough worthy that I can kind of move it? Because what initially happens, you see him kind of like move it, and when he sees Thor see him move it, Thor's face drops, and he kind of goes, "Up." I guess I can't.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll bring in the one theory I heard, even though like the concept of worthiness and the hammer is always a bit wonky because
Definitely.
of other people who have sort of held it or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
The one theory that I just enjoyed from a storytelling standpoint was that, for the most part, Cap is worthy, but there's that weight under him because at the time in Age of Ultron, he's still hiding the secret from Tony about Bucky.
Yeah, I enjoy that too. You know what?
So like the concept of that is just
I'll
like,
take that to.
You're almost there,
take that
bro.
to the bank too. Yeah,
you're almost there, but you
but
gotta.
you guys did something else.
You gotta clear your conscience of that one thing.
Yeah,
no, that makes
and
sense.
then me and you will be cool.
And then
I feel the same way. Yeah,
obviously, I have to wax poetic about the moment for 2 reasons. One, I think it's incredibly beautiful that the characterization of Cap throughout the MCU has been amazing, and it's brought me a love for the character that I frankly never had, and a level of respect for the character that I never had. And one of the things I like about the character is he's not always right, but he always attempts to do right.
Yes.
That's his most defining characteristic. He will always try to do what's best. Mm-hmm. And it's not always right, and he's failed on multiple occasions, but he will always stand for his belief of what's right. The statement that all you have to do is believe in what's right and be willing to stand for it, and you're able to wield a god weapon,
right,
says a lot to me, and it says a lot of good to me. It speaks to the potential in all of us,
right,
to quote unquote be worthy, which connects me to my second thing, which is the thing I've been saying on this podcast for over a year, this idea that we are all worthy, that once we speak it into existence, once we realize our potential and our power and what we're able to change and what we're able to do, we are all worthy. So in that instance where I'm sitting in that theater and watching my favorite MCU character wield this hammer, and that thought goes across my mind, he is worthy. I've been saying yes, you are worthy. I've said it 70 some odd times at this point. And that definitely brought it all back around. It definitely brought it back around in a way that I'm gonna thank the Russos forever, and
right.
In a kind
but
of
I'm
sense.
also amused by, in a sense, and whether or not it's like him watching Thor all those years, or a bit of the magic of the enchantment or whatever that goes into the hammer.
Yeah.
Like, I love that Cap has this intuitiveness that he just knows the ways to use
Yeah,
it.
because he's seen Thor use it, so he already has.
Immediately, he's like, swing
what
that.
if I do this?
Yeah.
What if I do that?
Fantastic. Like, he just knows how it works. And I think being granted worthy by the hammer also just gives you that intuitiveness of knowing how to use
know
it.
how to use it. Like him throwing the shield and then throwing the hammer, making it bounce off the shield and hitting Thanos. Yeah, that was great.
He gave him the most hands of anyone in the movie.
Hands,
I feel like.
Yeah.
And this is from the guy who had to see him get the one-hitter quitter in Infinity War.
So my thing with that is I'm glad. My thing with that is I seen Tony give Thanos the hands in Infinity War.
Yeah.
I knew to some extent Cap had to give Thanos some type of hands for Endgame, but never in my wildest dreams would I thought he was gonna be doing that while wielding Mjolnir.
And both at the same time, basically juggling weapons
shield.
against
bro,
Thanos' head.
Dude, oh my goodness.
Really good.
I just love that stance too. It's just like he's got the hammer and
So
shield.
that
I was like, that's that moment.
So that there, I feel like that shot was took its time purposely, so that way everybody could just soak it all in. That was awesome.
Put it on a shirt.
Oh yeah, right. Oh my god. But anyway, even with Mjolnir though, the Avengers fight Thanos, but they're no match for him, and he overpowers all of them. And summons his army to lay siege on the Earth.
Even destroys the shield.
Even destroys the shield, man. When he comes cracking down on that shield, my heart broke. And a lot of people were like, that shield's vibranium. Well, vibranium's in space, and Thanos is a titan of space. Like, he would have seen and met other metals, probably stronger than vibranium. With Thor and Iron Man down, Captain America Steve Rogers faces down the hordes of the Mad Titan's army, tightens his grip on his broken shield, and resigns himself to the fate that is to come. And just like in the comic books, he walks forward by himself, no fear, no second thought, second guessing. He's in this.
He's gonna walk right up to Thanos and slap him in the face.
He's literally in this until the end of the line.
And you see that shot of the whole
horde, the whole army, and one man. One man. Like I said, when they beam down the Black Order, when they beam down those Chitauri whales, when you see the foot soldiers and these other weird, like, big hulking foot soldier things, Outriders.
By the way, I like that Chitauri whale.
The Chitauri whale?
Chitauri whale.
You like that? The Chitauri whales? It's just like, how do you get out? I honestly was like, I don't know. Please just don't die now.
Not even with Mjolnir. There's no way.
I was like, please just don't die right now, please, because I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm already so happy that you got Mjolnir, and I'm so happy that you lasted this long. But if you die now, it's cool because I know you did all you could. Oh my god! But him gritting his teeth, snapping onto that shield and standing up against the army, it's just it was harrowing. And at this moment, we hear someone trying to reach him through the Avengers headset.
Yes.
You hear on your left.
The greatest Wi-Fi in the world.
That was
Can
another
you hear me
great.
now?
That was another great callback.
Yes.
The on your left thing, yeah, that.
You hear on your left, and you see from Falcon, which is a reference to Winter Soldier, and we see T'Challa, Shuri, and Okoye, as well as Falcon and Stephen Strange. Strange brings reinforcements, which includes all the resurrected Avengers, the Guardians, fellow sorcerers from all the worldwide sanctums. We see massive armies of the Asgardians, the Wakandans, the Ravagers.
Valkyrie is on a Pegasus.
Oh my God, it is, and again, not to get sappy again, but it's so beautiful. You know what I took away from this moment was this idea that Captain America, again, as he is one to do, is gonna stand up. He's gonna know you move, right? This entire army, this entire horde, which would basically kill him. Break him down to shreds. In this moment, he has nobody. There's nobody around. Thor's down. Iron Man's down. He's resigned himself to be the only person left in this fight. And as long as he believes that what he's fighting for is right, he doesn't mind being the only one for this fight. But what this movie teaches you and tells you, a life lesson, is if you stand your ground for something that is right, even if you think you are alone, there's enough good people in this world that are also fighting that same fight with you. And when you turn around, you will see the legion of other good people trying to fight the fight that you're fighting, and you're not in this alone. And as long as you are fighting the good fight, you will never be alone. And that spoke to me with
Even
Captain
the
America.
stupid duck.
Even Howard the stupid duck. Ant-Man comes barging back as Giant Man. He releases Hulk. Rhodey found a suit in the compound.
Yes.
a quasi Iron Patriot suit that he finds in the compound. Which I thought was pretty cool. Rocket's free. All the Avengers here. We can see this humongous scope. We see everybody. You see everyone's faces. Everyone gets into battle mode. Thanos is like, what the hell is going on? It's literally...
Yo, Spider-Man got the biggest pop in my theater.
Yeah, he got one of the biggest pops in my theater.
It is the Defenders of the Earth. And then Captain America says Avengers. And this is the moment we talked about last week. That they have been holding on to this moment. They have been holding on to this Avengers Assemble moment. How did they know that they didn't want it and we didn't want it in 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18? How did they not know?
Boy, did they milk that.
Godly, they held that down.
That, man.
Everyone
could get it once. It's gonna be the most.
Because I feel like I knew. I feel like at the time they knew when they were gonna give it to us.
But we could have got hit with a meteor that crushed this entire planet in 2015. And we would have never gotten it assembled. They literally waited to the last possible moment, and we finally got it in this. And oh my God, was it worth it? Because a splash page literally comes to life.
Yes.
And we see both sides do battle. Danvers eventually joins the battle. Danvers eventually.
Drax just
Drax is jumping on people, stabbing them in the back. Danvers eventually joins the battle, and
Matthew joins the battle.
The goal ends up being we need to get the gauntlet away from Thanos.
Yes, the hot potato.
Because future Nebula shoots past Nebula to get control of the gauntlet. And that's that. So now they're trying to. It's Justice League with the mother box. They're trying to get it as far away as possible, and they're playing hot potato with this thing.
Nebula with the gauntlet for a moment had me just like, no.
Yeah. So Hawkeye had it for a moment, and you're like, come on, what are you gonna do with this thing? He hands it off to Black Panther, who hands it off to Spider-Man, who gets it to Valkyrie. All the female Avengers do their best to hold it down, but
Force assemble.
Yes, but he finally gets his hands back on the gauntlet. And happy with his success, he attempts to snap his fingers again, but Danvers stops him. Danvers stops him from closing his hand after destroying Sanctuary 1 single-handedly.
Yes.
The ship that has housed all these monsters and beasties, she goes literally through like a hot knife through butter, which we saw a little bit of that in Captain Marvel's film. So, she definitely has a prerequisite to doing stuff like that.
Just a walking supernova.
Yes. He headbutts her. And that does not work. And this is when he realizes he's going to need a little bit more power.
He crapped his pants.
He removes the Power Stone from the gauntlet and punches her in the face.
That was slick. That was slick.
Smart. I wouldn't have even thought that. But at this point, like I said, he is over this. I literally have here in my notes, Stark does the best to get the glove off as well, but is ultimately defeated. Completely over the BS, I wrote down. Thanos looks right at Tony Stark, starts to snap his fingers and says, I am inevitable. But nothing happens. It is then revealed that Tony was able to remove the stones from Thanos' gauntlet and place it on his own hand, where his armor is able to host the stones, making a makeshift gauntlet of his own. You see the power surge through Tony. Tony looks at Thanos, says, I am Iron Man, and snaps his fingers. activates the Infinity Stones, disintegrating Thanos' entire army. We see Thanos literally just resign himself to a sit. I
just want to point out Tony did that with a tear in his eye.
With a tear in my eye.
With a tear in his eye.
But yeah, I thought that was well.
Never did I think we would invoke a Ric Flair promo on this.
Before I guess we get there, Thanos. Let's talk about Thanos a little bit. Let's talk about past Thanos, future Thanos, whatever Thanos. How do you feel about how all this ended? How do you feel about Thanos as a villain? How do you feel about just, I guess, Josh Brolin and how this all... I mean, we got to see the guy win. We got to see the guy lose. What are your thoughts on Thanos?
Josh Brolin, man, not only brought it, but he just covered himself in just like,
yeah,
in all of this, dude. Like, he soaked everything in. Like, he put himself in that role, man, and he was him. He was him.
One day I'm gonna get him and Vincent D'Onofrio in a room and just have them tell stories. Just read the phone book. Because the way that they're that gravitas to their voices, the way that they're able to mutter out those, and this pitiful planet,
you
know,
see, that
monologue it off, and
that was one thing I liked, because like between what you imagine in the books and the way some of the cartoons have displayed him, where Thanos is this mighty boisterous character,
yes,
that like Josh Brolin plays him so down and calm,
right.
Like these.
He's not much that strong.
So my thing with that is I'm glad from. So you see how Thanos is in the comics. I'm glad that it's still with him in the MCU. It still has a unique feel.
Yes.
In a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I love about it so much, and that's what kind of makes it also makes the Mad Titan in the MCU very scary and intimidating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's so I don't want to use the word blasé, but he is so calm about a lot of the things he's doing, even though they are, murderous and evil.
And that look on his face when he sits down is a look of, but I won. Right. I win this.
Right.
I saw this. How the hell?
Almost
how?
Kind of disbelief in a sense.
Like, it was literally just, I got way too ahead of myself or something. And that spoke to me with that character. Like, just like, oh my gosh, like you did come in this with like, and you did boister. Because guess what? After that rain of fire, he could have set all the army down.
You know what it reminds me of?
And then got the gauntlet after the fact.
It kind of reminds me of like those last few seconds of the perfect cell. He's like, but I'm perfect.
Oh yes. He just cannot understand. He cannot understand how he was defeated if he gotten this far. I had even forgotten and gotten to one point where Scarlet Witch goes so ham on Thanos that he literally fires on his own army. He does not care at that point.
No, where he's just like
he's about to
everything from me.
Who are you?
I don't even know you.
And she does display some of that power that we've been looking for her to have. She is a match for Thanos. He's only able to stop her once he fires on his own people, basically. Yeah. We get a nice little callback to kill mode with the spider suit.
Yeah, insta kill.
Insta kill. Where he just starts stabbing things in the head. Good thing he didn't use that around his high school. But yeah.
I keep for what it's worth. You guys know I'm sniffling. You guys probably think because I have these allergies that I'm dealing with, but it is because I'm trying to fight back the tears of Tony.
Oh, we coming to that. We're coming to that because the energy feedback ultimately kills Tony Stark, who before succumbing to his wounds has moments with War Machine, Spider-Man, and ultimately Pepper, who gives him the permission to finally rest because everyone is going to be okay.
Wow.
Let's talk Tony's death scene, man.
Oh man,
I cried. I'll be the first one to say it. I cried.
I welled up.
I cried more. I cried more not for his death, but how his death affected everyone else that I cared about. And I cared about his death, but it was like one of those things where I got his death. I understood his death.
Yes.
But now it's like, oh, but I forgot how that's going to affect Pepper. Oh my God, and how is that going to affect Morgan? And oh my God, Happy. And what about Rhodey? And Spider-Man. And what about the Avengers? And I'm sitting here going, disheartened and just heartbroken. Right. I get the necessity of it, but the necessity of just death in general, right? Death just comes sometimes. But in that moment, I was not ready to see Tony go, and the way that they let him go, again, not to make things too personal, but if you've ever had to let go of someone in the hospital,
Yeah.
there is no flowery speech
Mhm.
because it just happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just happens. And sometimes you don't get to say goodbye. Sometimes you don't get to say everything that you wanted to say. So in that moment where Tony did not have a big, like, okay, this is for you, kid, and for you. Yeah, you know, remember that time, and you.
The exact opposite of an obviously exaggerated parody, which is like the Deadpool death scene where he's like giving that rousing speech and just waiting for it to happen. He's just like, I'm not dead yet.
I'm not dead yet.
Do
I thought that was gonna be. He's like, I thought that was gonna be it, but no, I'm still.
I guess I just keep saying things.
Yeah.
And for Tony, it's just like it just happens.
As somebody, me and Cloudus have gone to the depths arguing about Captain America versus Iron Man. I said some very mean things about Iron Man in the past,
God.
and he said some very probably mean things about Captain America. But I honestly really, really felt that resonated a lot with me when Pepper gave him the permission to die.
Yeah, you can rest now.
That was something he doesn't look at anyone. She says, "Look at me," and he uses his last vestiges of life to turn to her.
Yeah.
Anything else I can get you, ma'am? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
My love, is there anything else I can do? Where else do I have to be? Who else do I have to shoot? You know, what else do I have to do with the gauntlet? No, Tony, you don't got to do nothing else. There's nothing else left to do. You can rest. We're gonna be okay.
I knew it was a wrap, like as fast as he did the snap, because I in my head I went back to Hulk having the gauntlet
Wearing
on,
the gauntlet
and it messed him up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Tony doing that, and then when he rolled over and you saw that side of his face,
Yeah.
I was like, damn, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, we here now.
was tough for
This
me
is
to
this
sort
is
of-
what it is, and it's like I can feel the hairs on my neck stand up, and I'm like, I want to turn away just to see how everybody else is reacting, but I'm just my eyes are glued, and I got it's almost like a waterfall. I want to say, because I had, when first Iron Man came out and they said it was the #1 movie in the world, I cut that out of the newspaper and I held on to that. You know what I mean? So I was like,
younger and all that.
dude, I was going through it, man. And my wife that was next to me, she was squeezing my hand, and she knew I was going through it. So, but it was, dude, I'm still shook. I'm still shook.
Yeah. Do you
It was
want to?
tough for me to sort of see like the reversal of that Spider-Man moment.
Uh-huh.
So like that was like, oh, that sucks to have to.
Now
do
that he's
this
finally
again.
back, it's reversed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we have to do this again, but it's you instead of me.
It was sort of kind of guessed or predicted that a lot of these day one guys wouldn't come back because of contracts and stuff like that, but they still found ways to make it dramatic, make it surprising, make it do things that or make us react in ways that, I guess, even though we knew that these things might come, it still hit home. It hit home.
But throughout the
me.
whole way coming, we were like, who's gonna bite the dust?
Yeah, like I said,
it's
weird to have
one of the main
known.
guys are gonna bite the dust, man, and it was Tony.
It's definitely weird to kind of have known, but also not know. You know, it was big deal, and it was also so cryptic to see Tony with that much life out of his body, with scarred that badly from the gauntlet, with his eyes that bloodshot. He literally looked like he was gone off of life, and so in that moment, it definitely hurt, man. It hurt because he gave his all. He was the guy that was told that he would never jump on the grenade, and this is exactly what he did. They were able to close off that thing, and he thought about that since Cap said it.
Yeah.
Since Cap said it, he said you'll never be the one that throw yourself onto that grenade. But yeah, the entirety of Thanos' army is gone, and Tony has saved the world. At his funeral, Stark's family plays a recorded message from Tony that he made before they started time travel, and I have that message somewhere around here.
Somewhere.
Here it comes.
Amongst our paperwork and research.
Well, I'll get to it in a second. But, oh yeah, everyone wants a happy ending, right? But it doesn't always roll that way. Maybe this time. I'm hoping if you play this back, it's in celebration. I hope families are reunited. I hope we get it back. And something like a normal version of the planet has been restored. If there ever was such a thing. God, what a world. Universe now. If you had told me 10 years ago that we weren't alone, to this extent, I wouldn't have been surprised. But come on, that epic forces of darkness and light will have to come into play. and for better or worse, that's the reality Morgan's going to have to find a way to grow up in. So I found the time and I recorded this little greeting in case of an untimely death on my part. I mean, oh, where's that? I mean, not that death at any time isn't untimely, which is actually very true.
Right.
Death never comes on time. This travel thing that we're going to try, this time travel thing that we're going to try to pull off tomorrow, it got me scratching my head about the survivability of it. Then again, that's the hero gig. Part of the journey is the end. I've made this journey before. Everything's going to work out exactly how it's supposed to. And then to Morgan, I love you 3,000. And so we were able to, in that moment, see the last, I guess, that we will of Tony Stark. And then we get to see the end of all ends. Like, we get to see the who's who of funerals, as everybody we've seen at this point, every Marvel hero, or at least person working on alongside the Avengers, is at this funeral. How do you feel about the sheer roster of this funeral? How do you feel about seeing everybody together?
I'm watching the camera pan, and it's like panning to everyone, and everyone's in their sort of particular like group or how do you say title and franchise.
I also thought the music was very well. As they panned to each person, they almost got their own little flair of music, their own little bit of.
I'd have to go back through that one, but yeah, I think I was too in the moment for it.
And then I popped for, like I said, Nick Fury.
Yes.
Yeah, I popped for Fury. My head was kind of down.
Yes.
At that point, a little bit, but for obvious reasons.
We see the proof Tony Stark has a heart from Iron Man 1, where they taught, that's something that he had like thrown away and told Pepper she can keep it if she wants to.
You know what I kept thinking, because like they put it out at the water, like they were going to do the whole Viking funeral, but
Me
they
too.
shot the arrow at it.
Me too. And no offense to Tony, but as far as funerals go, that was kind of quaint.
Yes.
In comparison to the man that Tony Stark is, I figured there'd be a lot more holograms, but I totally get it. Like, I totally get that it is time to rest. Like, to put that
like a Ravager funeral.
Every living character on the side of good in the Avengers is present for this funeral, as are we, the fans, who watch this entire epic story be told over a decade or so. We're right there along everybody else. We're mourning with everybody else. We've felt the highs and lows with Tony Stark, and we've worried about his fate for this long, and now we can kind of rest in ways, right? Now we can kind of let what happened happen, and learn how to move past it. Everyone moves past but us, I guess. But yeah. Following a funeral for Stark, Thor appoints Valkyrie as Queen of New Asgard and joins the Asgardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
What do you think about that pairing? How do you think about that film?
It makes sense in a way, like, especially considering the direction that Guardians of the Galaxy might be going, like,
and the direction Thor's going.
I'm with that. I'm super with that. I didn't know. Well, I'm glad it happened, but I didn't know I needed. I didn't know I wanted it until I saw it. So I'm
and don't we have an Asgardians of the Galaxy comic?
They just started like a few months back.
But it's his sister, right, Angela?
Yes.
Okay.
And a few other characters, but like, so for me, it was sort of if they're probably still going the direction they're going with Adam Warlock, and like they're probably gonna need a Thor guy
to deal with that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Rogers returns the Infinity Stones and Mjolnir to their original places in time. But instead of returning to the future, he stays in the past to be with his old girlfriend, Peggy Carter. In the present, Peggy Carter... In the present, an elderly Steve Rogers passes on his shield to Sam Wilson in a very poetic moment.
Baby, bye.
Sam finally has gotten the mantle passed down to him. I think this is the only mantle that's ever been passed down in the MCU so far.
Yep.
Until Hawkeye,
and so we have seemingly our new Captain America, and he says he's gonna do the best job he can, and Rogers goes, "Well, that's why you have the shield," which is very poetic.
No, I love that moment, even coming from Cap, where he was like, where Sam's like, it feels like it belongs to someone else, and Cap's like, it always did.
Yeah.
I felt it was very delicate,
and I really liked Old Man Steve.
Very nice.
Like, I liked how that looked. Yeah. I liked how he looked.
Even the way he kind of like slurred and slowed his voice.
Yeah.
But it felt like every word was energy he had to expend that he didn't have much of. But even in that, even with his weakness, they're like, "You want to talk about that wedding ring, Cap?" And he's like, "No, I don't think I will." And I was like, "You know what? Keep that to yourself."
He just put it in the shot.
Yeah, I was like, "Keep that to yourself, Cap. Don't nobody. You gave everything up. Keep that to yourself." And that's what I've been trying to tell people, that Tony Stark, for good or bad, lived an entirety of his life. Then he got kidnapped. Then he became Iron Man. Then everything else happened after the fact. Then he got married. Then he had a child. Then he got to raise that child for 5 years.
Right.
Cap life stops in 1994 or 1940. Sorry,
Yeah.
the 1940s when he crashes that plane. He gives up chances for a family, chances of a wife, chances of a kid, all that to save this. And even when brought back up from the ice, he's still in debt to saving the world always. So he has no life.
Tries to throw himself back into the military, just becomes a superhero, throws himself back into that world.
And he's almost not being able to have a life. So whereas Tony Stark got to live his life.
Refuses to date no matter how many times Natasha sets him up.
Exactly. So as far as Tony Stark, he got to live the life that he wanted to live and then ultimately have to sacrifice it.
Yes.
Whereas Steve sacrificed it before he knew what he wanted and then ultimately got to get it at the end, which I thought was extremely poignant. We also thought I would say that a lot of us thought that they were gonna die. That Cap was also gonna die in this film. I was weary.
Ready for it.
I was definitely weary for it, but the idea that they would do the rope-a-dope with me and give him the ending he deserves just was so poetic.
My thing with that was I thought Cap was gonna go back and then save Tony, and then we were gonna get a shot with Tony at coming around the corner from somewhere, but. Nah, it was just we got the geezer Cap, and the Infinity Gauntlet keeps going off somewhere in HQ.
And so, we did get Geezer Cap. No more Geezer Peggy, but I guess eventually you get Geezer Peggy, right?
Eventually.
But yeah, they are together and they're together forever. He finally is able to give her. We see them in the past, and he's able to give her the dance he promised her before he was frozen in ice, and the movie ends on a kiss.
Yes.
And then we get very stylized credits where we get to see, like I said, almost the equivalency of watching the original 6 Avengers bow. Yeah. As each one comes up, you see them, their signatures, their real-life signatures, and everything else that, that entails. And it ends with... It ends and swells. It ends and the music swells. With Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., the man who started this all. I stood up and clapped. I think you stood up and clapped. Mm-hmm. And it was just
Did you guys stay anyway?
I stood anyway, mostly because of the weight of the film. The weight of the film, I was just so tired. I just
wanted to cover all my bases, so I stayed anyway just in case.
No.
I played it safe.
But they kept... See, I don't know, you guys, my theater was funny.
They were trying to kick out?
Huh?
They were trying to kick out?
In a sense, cause not after the fact, but like they told everyone who had a ticket for it, like there's no end credit scene.
Wow.
They told every single person that there wasn't one, and I'm just like, I get it. You guys got 30 minutes. You got to get more nerds
and stuff like that. Yeah,
they wanted y'all to know, huh?
Like get out. You gotta clean this place up.
So, a little bit of afterthoughts. Like I said, I really like the idea of young, cocky, headstrong Thanos. I like that you'll be able to watch these two movies and see two completely different Thanoses with two different goals and two different levels of patience and two different levels of planning and being methodical. I think that's big there, honestly. It obviously the snap is not as clean as we think, right?
No,
this is not. This is not clean cut. We haven't gotten everybody back. There are dead people that are going to remain dead. There is time lost. This is very flashpoints where 5 years are just gone from everybody, and we're gonna have to either fill that in or see how that works and stuff.
That was one of the interesting things for me because it's like Spider-Man has to go back to school.
Yes.
And there are people there who are gone.
So that's the big thing is that you see Peter see Ned.
Right.
And they kind of give their handshake and they seem to be back in school. Mm-hmm. People are theorizing that this is high school, but if it's been 5 years,
it up to everybody getting dusted.
Everyone got dusted and then everybody got undusted. And now they're all back at the same grade that they're supposed to be.
Yes.
But as clean as that is, what about those who lost their husband or wife, remarried, and now husband and wife is back?
Right. Like in the beginning of the movie when Homeboy was talking about going out to date because he had lost his husband.
Exactly.
Right,
and now his husband's back. Like, you going on what date?
Awkward.
What's going on? This is my snap wife. You have to treat her. You understand? She gets respect too. Those 5 years were hard.
Snap boyfriend, so,
those 5 years were hard.
And like the fun stuff that I thought about earlier, which is just like what if important government officials got dusted away?
Yeah.
Like what happens to the structure of these nations?
And the ones did they ever expect those people to then come back and retake their seats.
Right. Now,
'Cause
no,
if
I'm president now.
if
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
president now, and the president come back, I'm like,
who's running Wakanda?
that was cool, but I'm still freaking president, so definitely not as clean cut. But I think it's on purpose. Those jagged edges are gonna come back in the Marvel universe some way or somehow.
Mhm.
So that's good to know. Cap's mission, man, bringing everything back. That's gotta set all kinds of
I'm pretty
alarm
sure.
bells
I'm
off.
pretty sure that trip to Volmir was kind of awkward.
Is that you, Steve?
I was a big
Yeah,
fan
they
of
have
Johan?
they have to keep him away from that because if anything, he'd have lost it and started trying to beat him up or
It's
something.
like, Johan, is that you?
Hello,
I haven't
Stephen
heard that
Rogers.
name in years.
It's like, hello, Stephen Rogers. Punch.
It'd have been on site.
That's where you went.
You're like, Johan? Who the hell is Johan?
It was funny too, because like knowing now like what happens to him, I'm watching First Avenger again, and I'm like, so wait, is he just shooting all these Hydra guys, all these Nazis into space?
Oh yeah, right. Everyone who's grabbing it up, they're
All
not being
those dudes
destroyed.
Just like
They're not being destroyed. The space stone is just
they're
taking them
on
to.
different planets.
They're all going to Volmir. Everyone's going to Volmir. It's the
It's
party.
the newest resort.
And some place on that planet is like a cloud of Nazis and stuff.
It is the party that people did not know that they wanted, which is quite interesting. But anyone else underwhelmed by the Hulk?
Not
I was
underwhelmed.
I was whelmed.
I was just about to say that. I wasn't under. I wasn't over. It was
Hulk.
just, you know.
I think if anyone was expecting the Hulk that's like at his quote unquote most powerful, it was gonna happen in Ragnarok because they're not gonna let him do that on Earth.
I guess
Yeah,
my issue. Well, I would think they would given the battle. Like if in a battle like that, I figure there's no who the hell cares. Like giant man just stomping around on people. But that was my theory was that the Hulk as a character is literally unhinged. Like that's the whole basis on the character.
Yeah.
And we got the most chill,
The
the most chill sweater vest wearing Hulk.
Science bro Hulk.
Again, not sad, not mad, not disappointed.
Right.
I was just like, oh, that's his role in this.
The one who didn't even know how to imitate his New York self.
Yeah, you understand? It's like this is gratuitous. I like that he's like this whole smashing thing is gratuitous. That was extremely funny. My last little afterthought before I get into some feedback from some members of the clique. Do you think, and I'm probably gonna go on length to try to prove this, do you think they were able to reference every film in the MCU? I think they got close.
I want to say that too.
Maybe. Like, I don't know.
Because when you're pulling in Thor 2, bro. Like that's, you understand? The Howard Stark and stuff, that goes from Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. Cap's entire trilogy's in this film. From Bucky to Peggy to Civil War, all in this.
What do you get from Thor 1 in that sense?
That's probably the only thing, unless you count the Tesseract.
Or Portman?
Or Natalie Portman. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it gets dodgy, but they did cover a lot of ground.
They did.
They were able to cover a lot of ground.
It's a big giant love letter to that whole saga.
Oh my god! And speaking of, go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Guardians gets covered obviously with Quill dancing in the
Yes.
So
Yes.
Guardians 2 not so much.
Guardians.
But Mantis is there.
Yeah.
Who was already part of the team. Jesus Christ, what are they gonna do with Gamora? That's gonna be interesting.
I figured that. I literally think that Guardians 4 is like the search for Gamora. Like that's gonna be the whole driving force. But then taken out of the timeline. But then you have you got the Go people. I can't remember their names. The Sovereign. Who will still be after the Guardians because they're building Adam. I will call him Adam.
Yes. Like that was one of those moments where I was just like, oh, they're back together. Oh crap, it's not the same one.
Yeah. He kicks. You missed me the first time, and then you hit both of them on the second time. But she needs him in the nuts.
My favorite was Nebula going like it was between him and a tree.
And a tree. Yeah, it's true.
Just leaving out Drax.
My man Bucky didn't get to do much either in this film.
Not much camera time.
Yeah, not much camera. I mean, the whole Civil War was about him, so I mean, theoretically. Let's get into some feedback. I was able to get some reactions from Yogi, member of the clique.
Yes.
He says, I went from uncontrollable tears to an uncontrollable smile within the span of 5 minutes. When they say emotional roller coaster, that's what they're talking about. This is what they're talking about. Easily the greatest Marvel film I've ever seen. A more than satisfying conclusion to the journey I started 11 years ago. I've got goosebumps remembering certain things, and my heart breaks remembering other things. I loved this movie. I loved it. 3,000.
Yeah, that was heavy. That was heavy.
It's true. Now, as far as the greatest Marvel film I've ever seen, you're gonna have to tune in next week for our ranking of the MCU, which will be quite fun for that. But I'm glad that he's able to put it on top.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Are you putting it right on top?
I'm
Maximus?
putting it right on top, brother.
Number one.
Right on top. Number one.
Number one.
I might have. I don't know.
So
I'm not ready yet. If
I had to say, so right now with the way I'm feeling, my big three has to be Endgame, Infinity War, Cap, Civil War.
See, I still feel like it's like, for me, I know Civil War is still up there. You know what's up there for me? Guardians 1 is up there for me. I really liked Guardians 1. It may not be, it's going to be in top 5.
Even so
wherever it ends up on my list, I still put 2 over 1.
But even so, making a top 3, I still kind of feel dirty.
Yeah,
you know
definitely.
what I mean?
And like I said, you can't forget Iron Man.
Yeah.
You can't forget the first Avengers film.
Dirty,
so it is going to be kind of rough.
For me, it's weird to think of the top 3 and just be like, well, how do you, like, I'm just going to not put Infinity War and Endgame, like, right next to each other.
Yeah, right. I'm waiting to go through that seating of watching that whole 6 hour epic.
I'm about to put the Avengers movies on a completely different list.
See, a 6 hour epic. I'm ready for that.
Jesus. Oh yeah, put both movies together unbroken. I'm ready.
That's
for it.
Oh
man,
I'm ready for it.
We got some questions here. Dan the Comment Man says, "What do you think this means for the future of the MCU? In the sense that, do you think that multiverses are a possibility?" And this is the introduction of the idea of the quantum realm and different branches of reality.
You know what's funny about that? I might have something to say about that if the stones weren't taken back to where they were supposed to be taken back to.
Exactly.
If Cap would have kind of screwed that up a little bit, then it might have been, unless something else happens down the road.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Then maybe I'd have been like, oh, so what's gonna happen there now? Right. You know what I mean? But they kind of knew what they were doing, so I kind of like the way they wrapped that up in a sense.
Yeah.
I was gonna to your point. I kind of like that now. Like, we're in a world without Infinity Stones, which like means there's no temptation to go back to that plot point,
right?
Which I think is a good thing. It looks kind of funny in the sense that, like, I can imagine Sony just going like, "We did multiverses first. No, that's ours."
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
At the same time, maybe, yes.
But hell, if somebody else did the homework and now everybody's on that game, keep playing that game. You don't got to do the homework anymore.
Absolutely. On its own right, like, they absolutely could do it. I'm curious how they would do it in this realm now where the interconnectivity of the MCU may be taking a back seat for a little bit, which I think is for the best.
It's funny that you talk about taking a back seat, because one of the other questions that he asks is, do you think that the fans are going to buy tickets to see a franchise without Captain America and Iron Man?
Yes.
I think that it's probably
because they bought tickets to go see Guardians,
and they bought tickets to go see Black Panther. But I do think that it's, again, not as cut and dry as that. You know, I don't think that I don't know if we'll be able to see Avengers Endgame's number on the next MCU film off the bat. You know, I do think that it's going to be cogs in the wheel and machines and stuff like that.
That was built up and cultivated. Like,
yes,
you don't do that.
Exactly. But ironically, I very much take the scene of Cap standing there about to die with Thanos, and the scene of Iron Man's ultimate death as one, Tony being told that he can rest, is the idea to me that the Iron Man character can rest. We got this.
Right,
you understand?
Right.
We got this now, Tony. You don't have to be in every movie. You don't have to do cameos. You don't have to do. You don't have to do. You don't have to be in everything. You don't have to do all the cameos. You don't have to work extra hard for all this. You can go, and then you got Steve. Like I said, Steve is another big character in these films, and ultimately, he was flanked by all his successors. He is the first Avenger, but these are the Avengers.
He can
and all these
now.
Avengers are still here, and they're all still trying to save the world. So, he's not alone. So I do think that they can move forward, and I think that this movie is trying to tell us that we are supposed to. We as fans are supposed to.
What I found amusing by people who were always concerned about the idea is like can Marvel keep creating new characters that people are going to pay money to see? It's like they never stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't know
creating Doctor Strange Captain Marvel and Black Panther and all those movies and the Ant-Man. Granted, yes, the Ant-Man's not the most money-making one of all of them.
But now you got to go back and watch Ant-Man because you won't know what the hell's going on. You see what I'm talking about here? That's what it is. You want Marvel to take a chance, then you won't take a chance, and then Marvel will force you to take a chance.
Yeah.
Because everybody's viable. Everybody is.
And just like how we brought, how we brought in the freaking, the Guardians of the Galaxy out of like what is relative obscurity to the general public. Like, now we're gonna put out Eternals that most people have never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and everyone's like, what? And everyone's like, what do we want to see? Because you didn't want to see Guardians until you wanted to see Guardians.
No,
and in that same sense, I remember an interview that Kevin Feige did where he says, they're like, oh, it must have been really hard taking these C and B list guys. He's like, they're all A-list. It's our job to make them A-list. It's not. There's no point in even referring to them as anything else but A-list. You understand? We make them A-list, and in having that mentality got us this far, even without Ant-Man coming out of Thanos' ass. But we have a little bit of feedback from fan of the show, David, who says, in the comics, there's an entire universe in the Soul Stone. Could Gamora and Widow be in the stone itself? I mean, I guess that's still... Well, the stone's destroyed, right?
Yeah.
There's
no way to go back. There's no way to go back now.
That speaks exactly to what I said earlier. We removed the stones from this timeline and from this plot point.
Yeah. Did Cap return Mjolnir? Yes.
Yes, he did.
He went back when he returned the ether. If past Thanos dies, does this first snap still happen? Yes.
Yes, because the 5 years still happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yep. And he still 14 still comes back to 19. 2014 Thanos still comes back to 2019 Thanos and is beaten twice.
Yes.
That still happens.
The corpse is up there in that garden still.
Yeah.
Because
the Scarecrow is too.
Because when past Nebula died, present Nebula did not.
We have one more bit of feedback before we wrap this thing up, and I'm feeling just as sad as I was when I watched the film. But because it was so much fun talking about this movie, and this email kind of talks a little bit about that. Mm-hmm. But this community that has grown over the last 11 years is beautiful in many ways, and I'm glad to be a part of it. But let me get into the last bit of feedback. This comes from Melissa. Every comic book fan has their favorite character. For whatever reason, good or evil, they have a character who resonates with either experiences in their past or what they hope for the future. But with one snap of his fingers, Thanos made some of our most beloved Marvel characters vanish before our eyes. Hero or villain, it didn't matter because half the universe was gone. With no reason, no explanation, just dust. Together we waited a year to see what would come of this. You want to see a world united? Go see this film. Walking into a theater with strangers who are just as fascinated and intrigued by the MCU as I was, the energy and the intensity was beyond words. I have never laughed so hard and cried so deeply within the same movie. My heart sank when I felt danger and I literally jumped for joy and threw my hands in the air celebrating victory. What Avengers Endgame did for fans was give them hope. We live in a world with a real-life Thanos. An egotistic... this is the feedback. Egotistical being whose main goal is to diminish our population for what he claims is the greater good. Most of us hope and pray the Avengers will come one day and save us all. Knowing realistically it would never happen, instead we pour our hearts into our favorite characters and let them fight our fight, all while secretly wishing we had an Iron Man suit. I thought that was a very poetic bit of feedback, and I would like to extend that feedback to say that we don't have to give up the fight. You don't have to give all your energy into the Avengers and hope that they fight your battle in movie form. We all, as I will say at the end of this podcast, are worthy. We all have the superpowers, the innate ability to make change. And I will promise you, as Steve Rogers stood in the face of the hordes of the mad Titan Thanos, any ground that you choose to stand on, you will not stand on alone as long as you are standing on it for the right reasons, as long as you are putting the best foot forward, as long as you are doing the best for not only yourself but your fellow man. And that will ultimately get us the change that we need, and that will ultimately eradicate all the Thanoses of the world. But a brilliant piece of feedback and deeply motivating. Yeah, not to bring the whole room down, but how do you guys have any last things you guys want to like to say about this film?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
So nice.
I'm not in a rush because I'm just like,
you guys pulled the whole Black Widow and Hawkeye right there.
I'm happy it turned out the way it did, except for one thing for obvious reasons, you know. But if it had,
Are you able to sit on that? Are you able to?
I'm still.
Iron Man was one of your most famous characters, favorite characters. We've laughed, we cried with him. Are you ready to put Tony to rest?
It's still. I mean, I get it. I get it with them putting him to rest. It's gonna take me a while to get over.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't Tony, then it was gonna be Cap. And
yeah.
I'm not ready to. I was never ready for a world in the MCU to have either one of them. So it's something I'm gonna have to get used to, and it's actually something I have to live with.
Yeah.
So I just can't wait to see what we're gonna get. Looking forward.
But you're still very much Black Panther. I'm not ready to be without you.
Yes. But also with the same breath, I'll also say I can't wait for as Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. And Black Panther 2.
So,
and Far From Home. And
so
Doctor Strange
just
2.
Bring it on, man. Bring it on.
Yeah. GT?
First off, I got to see the most amazing cinematic accomplishment in
That's
the
how I
history
feel,
of
honestly, man. I'm so grateful.
cinema.
Yeah, me too.
I'm so grateful.
Despite all the waiting, this was a heck of an experience.
And even when you say all the waiting, in comparison to like a Star Wars,
right,
or in comparison to even like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones went off the air for how long? 2 years before a season came out.
Right.
Like
Star Wars had like a decade before
another
in between
sequels
came out.
In between sequels, they
so
had like.
So here's my thing with that. Now that you guys mentioned it, I was too young to appreciate Star Wars.
Yeah.
At the time, I was also too young to appreciate Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
This here is my thing.
Is your epic?
This
is
here
your epic.
This here is my thing.
I can see. I definitely see that. I definitely feel that way
But it's
too.
also the biggest epic in cinema history.
Yeah,
that will never be
yeah.
eclipsed.
So I can't wait to when my friends have kids, or even when I have kids, to put my kids onto this, to show them this story. So when they become old enough, I'll bring out the DVD set and sit them down and be like, it's time, you know. This is me when I was coming up. So I'm gonna put you onto this. So I personally can't wait for that moment for myself.
Right.
You know. So that's really my thing when it comes to that. This is my thing here.
Awesome.
I'm in a much different place than he is, because in a sense, I not only got to see my favorite character get his happy ending, but then I got to see him pass on the shield to the guy I thought deserved it.
Yeah, so you got everything you wanted.
So if I can get a possible Sam Wilson Captain America, I don't know if they have the nads to actually give him his own solo film.
Yeah.
I would be pleasantly surprised if they did.
I feel like if they did, they have to go with people not digging it first.
Like
that run,
right,
not
right.
my Captain
not
America.
My Captain, yeah.
They would have to lean in, because not everyone's gonna dig it off the bat.
If you read those books, they are tough.
Maybe Marvel gotta get tough. Maybe,
yeah,
but that's another thing. This movie showed so much more maturity, violence, and cursing. Maybe that's just because it's the Russos, or maybe it's the idea that the kids that you were too afraid to curse around in 2012 are not that age anymore.
Right.
And now you can do those things. But in the same sense, when this thing rewinds itself, this MCU, and goes into the next phase, you ultimately do also want to grab a whole new host of children.
Yes, you do.
And move forward, and you might not want to do that with people throwing bottles at the Black Captain America, in the you might not want to you might not want to get there, but I get that.
That whole story is tough about how people reject him, and they bring up things that represent sort of the industrialization of the police force,
the worst parts of America.
Yeah,
if you represent America, then you represent this, and you represent that.
Right,
Did you know America did all these years of this?
And then they bring in a private police force that gets into the inner cities, and it's that thing that Sam Wilson has to deal with, because the black people want him to represent their troubles, because he's one of them, but he's also got to be Captain
Everyone's America. Everyone's Captain America. Yeah. And that's the whole thing with Obama.
Stuff was
they were playing around with that idea with Obama. Like the idea, is he only supposed to be black people's president? What's going on here?
Right.
And so that is very poignant. Now I may be on the outs. I have no intention, and I'm sorry for you guys listening. If you guys were listening for this, but I have no intention or no will to speculate. I feel like this movie it shows me that no matter what the hell I guess or what the hell I speculate, that it's not going to work. And I'm literally more in it for the ride.
No, let's just have fun with Far From Home.
Yes, let's have fun with Far From Home. But like you guys said, I'll just sum that up. This was a cinematic achievement. This was something that I liked when I started. I loved when as years pass, and now it's an obsession. Like, this has seeped into aspects of my life I didn't think it would. These characters and their motivations and their characterizations have motivated me in ways I didn't think I would. Mm-hmm. I go from, the year Civil War comes out, I'm dressed like Captain America meeting Stan Lee at my first Comic-Con.
Right.
Because I felt that empowered by that and empowered by these stories.
I started reading comic books because of these movies.
It's gonna sound kind of cliche and kind of corny, but I do think that the world's a better place because of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I do think that these pillars of humanity, these flawed yet always trying their best to do right people, that these guys being the ones that everyone's going to go see, the ones that make $1.2 billion at the box office in 4 days, that these are the pillars of humanity we should supposed to be looking up to. And although they're not real, we can aspire to be as close as we can to them. And if all that means is trying to do what's right, when it's right, for the right people, then you are still worthy.
If one kid
there's only 1% chance. No, that's how you're going into.
Yes. If one kid watches Captain America and thinks like that's the kind of person I need to grow up to be, it's just like, how is it not worth it?
Yeah. And you see the cosplays already. You see the people with their eyes opening up. Everybody, this world has taken everything by storm, and I'm just so grateful. This podcast wouldn't exist without the MCU, and so thank you, Russo brothers. Thank you, Feige. Thank you, all the original Avengers.
You weren't going to build this podcast around the Christopher Nolan trilogy?
It was only going to be around Man of Steel, bro. Every day it was going to be me picking something out of Man of Steel and just going ham. Nah, I love it all. And listen, just because this is the end of the MCU doesn't mean it's the end of the Major Issues podcast. We have
not the end of the MCU though.
Well, at the end of the Infinity Saga. The Infinity Saga. Just because it's the end for some doesn't mean it's the end for all, and it definitely means it's not the end for us.
I'm still waiting for my Doctor Strange sequel.
Brandon
Mordo's coming back for that butt.
Rumor is there's too many sorcerers, but we got so much stuff coming down the pike. We got next week, like I said, we're going to be ranking our MCU's films. So if you guys want to write in, just like you did this week, write in and let us know what your order is. But first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for coming to this episode. And you can find all of our episodes wherever podcasts are found. It's on Podbean, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, the Apple Podcast app, on iTunes. We have it on Google Play, on YouTube. Literally wherever podcasts are found. But if all that's way too hard, go to Google, type in Major Issues Podcast, and we're the first ones that pop right up. And if you guys want to reach us directly, because we're always like our interactive fans, the members of this clique, I know this episode is going to get all kinds of downloads because our Infinity War Therapy Session got all kinds. People want answers. They want to hear us talk. They want to chill with their homies, and that's what we're here for. So make sure that you reach out to us and contact us at facebook.com/comicbook clique, Instagram at comicbook clique, or use the hashtag comicbook clique to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. I am at Major Issues CBC. I'm holding it down for the Major Issues Twitter. I believe you have a Twitter as well, GT.
I am at Rebirth GT. You will probably just see me posting pictures of me playing Spider-Man.
We've been staying kind of spoiler free. Maybe I'll sit down with the clique and decide when that should be lifted so we can start posting some memes and stuff. But I still want people to get the best of this film, and the best of this film is going in without knowing anything. So I hope that you guys like this review. I hope that you guys like the film. I hope that you guys follow us as we follow the MCU, and with the right people in the right place doing the right things, magic things can happen. My name is George Serrano, a.k.a. The Don.
I am your Cloudus Maximus.
I am Gregory Thomas, a.k.a. GT Rebirth.
And whether or not you command space, time, mind, body, and soul, whether you're a mad titan from the past or a Russian assassin from the future, whether you sacrificed it all, whether you're not the man to jump on the grenade, all of it and all of you, remember this. Remember it was said here, and remember that you, yes you, are worthy.